There we go. He'll be right back. He's just getting a drink.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't blame nobody. Shit, I be drinking. Not much.
Okay, we'll go through our spill. I'll read that right before we go to more. What's up, everybody?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
Together.
CI over there on the live feed.
Okay.
All right. So you gotta do your dime bag.
What's up? My blood pressure, the price of gas.
Yeah. Well, I find what's up is
UFOs.
Oh shoot, that's next Friday. We're gonna be talking about that.
Some drone waiting overhead.
Not me. We're drone free here. We're too small time to be watched. Thank God.
Yeah, maybe.
For now.
Oh, they watching. Hold on.
Wait till we have John Lear.
I like the way somebody actually went on your website and corrected y'all about what city Michael Brown's murderer worked in, and he didn't even have the correct name.
What are you talking about?
Remember the cop who shot
Oh,
Michael
yeah,
Brown?
Darren
Wilson.
Yeah.
Right, but then that whole police department got eliminated because they were so racist.
Yes, it was Jennings
Yeah, he worked at. He was a Jennings cop before he worked in Ferguson.
Somebody on your website tried to correct you all, and I don't even know what the hell he was talking about because the name of the city he was talking about wasn't even the correct city.
That's why I never take the comments personally.
I enjoy them. Cut the fan. Kill the fan.
It's like now, in the past, what I used to do was try to reason with people or try to enlighten them. Now I don't even say anything. I just quietly boot them off my damn Facebook.
There you go. I mean, my whole philosophy is this here. If you and the fool's having an argument and I roll up on you, it'll be mighty hard for me to distinguish which one of you guys is the true fool. I don't have time to argue with fools.
Excuse me, I believe you need to save that for the show because that's what's going to happen because you know damn well no nigga better be no teacher in the school armed. Because when the cops roll up on a shooting scene and there's an armed black teacher,
we got a problem.
They're going to be the first one shot.
Black teachers ain't gonna carry no guns. No. They know better.
Listen, that's why we took corporal punishment out of the schools. When the black teachers when they finally integrate the schools and you start having those black teachers start spanking these white children, that's when we need to take paddling out of schools. Man, it's all a joke. It's all a cruel, vicious joke. That's what
immigration did. You can't have no black teachers spanking no white children.
No.
When people sit. So anyway, when does the show start?
It's gonna start in. Technically, it should start 5 minutes ago, but we're
You're always on CPT, so I'm used to that.
I mean, technically.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hillary Clinton ruined that for us.
Hey, she has a bottle of hot sauce in her purse. That's the type of chick you could eat a chicken wing with.
About Hillary Clinton, dude.
She's a clown.
I was a major.
We live on YouTube.
Well, I never grew up, but I used to be a major slut. I mean, seriously, I was a
Hey, Mark, we live on YouTube.
We live on you? Whatever. So anyway,
Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
I thank God every day that I never caught anything. But I'll just tell you this. Even I couldn't go out with Chelsea.
She's hard to look at, man. Hard to fucking look at. Damn.
Yeah, I'm just keeping it real. By the way, I think, and that's why, I'm going to tell you something seriously. That's why I'm happy that you all had a good response to your last show with me because the only reason I come on this show is because you keep it real.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, we do. We try to.
So, everybody, this is the other morning show. I'm Dimebag Darley.
I'm TruePowerIsMine.
And of course, if you ain't heard the voice by now, Mark from Anaheim is.
But what's today's date? We gotta know the date.
Today's date is February 23rd, 2018.
The year of our Lord. Yeah. All righty. We got a ton of questions.
White man.
We got a ton of questions for you, but hold on before we start. I did have a list over here. I want to thank Todd from Orlando, $15 contribution. I want to thank Andrew from what the fuck? What's it? You know the name of it?
No, I don't.
It's the name of a city, right?
Yeah, it's the name West Costa.
No, I mean fuck. There's a city called fucking.
Well, I don't think he's from.
Lying, don't you? Dude, when I used to be a bad boy, I used to hang out in Beverly Hills and Newport Beach and Anaheim Hills, and some of the women were from Austria and Hungary. I'm not lying to you. There is a city named fucking.
Over in Europe?
Let's see if I lie to you.
Oh my God. I wouldn't want to live in that city. Where are you going to, honey?
Oh, I would.
I'm going to fucking.
Hey, that works.
I'm serious.
That
I'm
works.
sure one of you are already Googling it right now to see if I'm lying. But remember, listeners out there, I will never lie to you.
Thank you. And I appreciate that, personally, because that makes our show, like we first started off this show, like, what the fuck we gonna do? You know what I mean? We know, what the fuck are we gonna do? And now, we have an idea of what the fuck we're gonna do. You know, we're gonna feed the homeless people. We're gonna start community organizing. And we're going to start making some money up in this bitch. You know, more so than these little donations that are trickling. And which I'm not Rudy Putin, and I'm thankful for. But it's time for us
ungrateful.
to, you know, kind of cash in.
You know, I don't want nobody getting in the uproar. You know?
Exactly. But I wish we could pan the camera over there so they can see the food that we got ready for the homeless. But today...
I thought that was for the cookout.
Yeah, we're going to do the cookout too in June.
But, I was just playing.
No, I'm being for real.
No.
We got a lot of things going on with the shootings. We got politics.
You're having a cookout?
Yes, we're having a cookout. The other cookout.
Are you gonna have a picnic?
No picnic.
No picnic.
No cookout. No picnic.
Oh, so you know where that word came from?
Oh, unfortunately, yes. Yes, sir. That's not cool.
Hey, come on, Bubba. You know, Yogi Bear. And
yeah, a picnic basket. Ooh, Yogi. Man,
right.
Those motherfucking Jolly Stone faggots. Oh, I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah,
I've been trying to.
Hanna-Barbera, man.
I'm better now.
Hanna-Barbera was the shit.
Huh?
Hanna-Barbera was the shit, man.
But Hanna-Barbera had so many cool. You know, they had G.I. Joe. You know, they had Transformers, Voltron, all this. But you know what? As you really look at it, Hanna-Barbera, they're just like portraying only white supremacy in their cartoons. You know, anytime you saw a black face.
What about? Come on, Disney.
Oh well, I didn't even want to go there. They're just too rampant with their nonsense.
Well, they try to help out black people. They let them do Black Panther.
What about?
Oh yeah, they did make some money off of that. The Bugs Bunny and when they had the.
Have you ever seen the original Elmer Fudd?
Mm-mm.
You need to check it out.
I mean, I saw one.
Google this one. When Elmer Fudd was a nigger.
Oh God.
I'll tell you a little story here. I was working for LA. For you listeners out there, because you know your host here ain't gonna give no bio on me or anything.
We was about ready to.
I'm sorry.
We was about ready to. We had it all queued up. We was gonna give you the bio right now.
You want me to read your bio?
I'm sorry, then I'll shut up and see. I'll see how many lies you tell about me. Go ahead.
Here's with the bio, dime bag.
Actually, this is just Larry from around the corner. I'm just bullshitting. No, but I'm gonna read Mark's bio. Mark from Anaheim, folks. He spent his first 5 years roaming the streets of Harlem. That's in New York for y'all that don't know.
Right.
Oh, I lost
Brooklyn
it.
and the Bronx too, but go ahead.
From Harlem before being sent. Is that segregated Jim Crow, Johns Island, South Carolina, to live with his aging grandmother. He is listen in international who of professionals and is former member of many of the globalist organizations which few ever hear about. He has provided briefings to NATO, personnel regarding less than lethal, non-lethal technology, and he has been provided counterterrorism training to personnel for many federal and local law enforcement agencies. He is both retired U.S. Marine Corps Mustang Infantry officer, as well as a retired LAPD patrol supervisor. Mark is an FBI certified range master and has served as a technical advisor to several popular Hollywood movies. Since retiring, he has returned to life as a lazy surfing beach bum, where he spends much of his time coaching and mentor some of the most successful young female surfers from around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark from Anaheim.
Yes.
Maybe you should send me this like a few days in advance.
So just like the last time I came on this show, today I'm on this show because I was pissed off the last time. And I'm pissed off today because one of my primary surfers didn't do so well in the surf contest. The last time I came on your show, I was pissed off because she didn't do well in the contest. So now, when you hear the term pissed off, what does that mean to you?
Upset, frustrated, aggravated.
So if I walked up to you right now and I said, let's go out and get pissed, what does that mean?
Oh, that means let's go out and get drunk.
As you know, I'm from the Brown clan, and got that Scottish and Irish blood flowing to the brain.
Well, I'm Patrick.
And I may have been known in the past to make contributions to certain lads across the, as we say,
Pond.
when we talk about across the pond. One of my favorite songs, the only song by the Beatles worth a damn that you never hear on the radio, Give Ireland Back to the Irish. So when we say get pissed, I got pissed off after she bombed out in her contest, so I'm getting pissed as I'm talking to you because I'm pissed off.
Well, we're pissy
But the
too.
great thing about it is, they said alcohol is a spirit. And when you have a spirit inside of you, you tend to say and do things you wouldn't normally say or do. So this is an uncensored show here today, folks, on YouTube. I wouldn't know because I still have dial-up and never access YouTube. But the brothers asked me to come on today, and all I want to share with you is this. I have no political party affiliation, no political organization affiliation. I don't want you to believe anything I say to you. I challenge you instead to do your own research and come back and tell these brothers that I lied to you. Because the one thing I have that no man can take is my word.
Right.
We lived a time when the society on trust. A handshake used to mean a lot. Look someone in the eyes and shake hands meant a lot. And the only reason these brothers would even bring me on the show, because I've already demonstrated that I will not lie to you. If I don't know something, I'll just tell you I don't know and we move on. But like chances are I'm going to share something which you've never heard before, because nothing's worse than being lied to, but even worse is believing that lie.
Yes.
And then now admitting to yourself that you've been lied to. There's nothing wrong with you admitting to having been lied to, because you had no control over that. However, there is something wrong when you want to stay in an echo chamber and listen only to those lies to perpetuate your own empathy bias and don't have the moral courage to listen to another source and then go out there and do your own research. So a little while ago, I talked to the brothers about Elmer Fudd. The original Elmer Fudd was a nigger. That's why Bugs Bunny was so hilarious, because he did all these hilarious, violent things to a nigger. So one night I was an LAPD patrol officer, and I was taking an arrestee to Harbor UCLA Hospital. And I need to tell you all this too, because this is deep. This happened all over the country. In Los Angeles County, you had 3 major county hospitals. Now, for you folks out there who've seen the soap opera General Hospital, you ever seen that TV, that show? Well, the scene for General Hospital is actually the USC Medical Center. That is the county hospital here in LA. Then you also had UCLA Harbor, which is down in Carson, California. Then the third hospital you had in the county was, guess what?
What?
The MLK over at King Drew Medical Center. Now, I ask you brothers there, do you know who Charles Drew was?
Never heard that name.
See, and this is what I'm talking about, brother. Have you ever heard of the Red Cross?
Yes, of course.
And what is the Red Cross famous for more than anything else?
Well, blood. I mean, blood transfusion, helping
blood
out
bank.
the weak.
Guess who invented that?
A black man.
A Negro.
Yeah.
Charles Drew. That's who Charles Drew is.
Wow.
I'll also tell you this because you hear the rumors out there, and I'll just tell you because I'll never lie to you. For many years, a lot of folks believe that Charles Drew died. Because I'm from South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. Johns Island's in Charleston County. But a lot of people believe that Charles Drew died in North Carolina because he was in a car accident, and the white hospital didn't allow him admission into the hospital. He would have survived had they let him in. That's not true. That's one of those stories that went around in the 80s, just like the another urban legend that used to go around. It's not true. The first presidents were actually 9 men from the U.S. Congress, Continental Congress. Now, that's true. However, what's not true is one of them was a black man.
Okay.
That is not true.
I heard that lie.
In fact, the guy whose name is on the back, when you look on the back of a $2 bill, the guy who they claim is a black guy, yes, there was a black guy with that name, but if you look at the photograph of that black guy, you will clearly see his photograph was taken on a type of photography that didn't even exist when the Continental Congress was in existence. So, in fact, the guy whose name they're using was actually a slave owner.
No way.
Another urban legend, of course, was the they talked about how to separate the slaves and how to fight against each other. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
You know what papers I'm talking about? That was
the Lynch papers.
So supposedly there were these papers made up by slave owners how to keep the blacks fighting each other.
Right. Divide them by North and South, East and West, old and young, man and woman.
Mm-hmm.
The Lynch papers.
Skin and dark skin.
Right.
Yep.
But do you know what those papers are called?
I thought they were called the Lynch papers.
The Willie Lynch.
Yes, Willie Lynch.
That's a bullshit document. See, that's what I'm telling you. Yes, the theory is a sound theory, and yes, that is a concept that was used, but the Willie Lynch is a fake document that was written by a guy on a subway while traveling through New York City.
Fuck.
And they put that out there as if that was a document. See, so, it's really sad because a lot of folks have made money. And when I say a lot of folks, I'm talking about a lot of Negroes.
Yes.
Have made money in the black community by going around propagating this kind of disinformation. Anything I've done. I've appeared on hundreds of radio shows, and I don't get a dime for what I talk about. In fact, having said that, segue into this, I believe you gentlemen are located in the great state of Missouri.
That's right.
Missouri.
That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
Have you ever seen the movie Ride with the Devil?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have?
Yes, that little Spider-Man guy's in it, Tobey Maguire. It was about the Civil War, the fucking battle of...
Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, sir. We call that the War of Northern Aggression, sir.
Oh, my God. It was horrible, dude. It was horrible. They had this brother in this movie, right? And he was fighting with the Confederacy because his like the guy that was his daddy died. This chick goes in here and they were all in the room. They're like, "What's this nigger doing in here? Wouldn't he be better out there?"
What do you think I would have been fighting for?
Well, with your background, unfortunately, well, it is what it is. Let's just say that.
Let me tell you something, okay? The great thing about having grown up I never grew up, but the thing about getting older when I was in Charleston, South Carolina, my grandmother used to work in the homes of prominent white folks in Charleston, and we have an area of Charleston called the SOBs. Now, when I say SOB to you, what does that stand for?
Son of a bitch.
Right, but in Charleston, SOB stands for South of Broad Street. Because if you were somebody, and I mean somebody, you live south of Broad Street. So the great thing about being real young and being a colored boy, I used to wander around. To this day, nothing's changed. White children and colored children can play together till they're around 6 or 7 years old, and then they got to stop that.
Right.
So I was young, and my grandmother used to take me with her to go clean houses. So I used to wander the streets of South of Broad. Well, I didn't know this, but I had taught myself how to read by the time I was 2 years old. And I would wander down to the four corners of Charleston, Now, the four corners of Charleston, you have a federal courthouse building, you have the library, you have the city hall, and then you have a church, St. Philip's Church. Those are considered the four corners of law. So I used to wander into the library, and I found books in the Charleston Library. No, I shouldn't say even the Charleston Library, the Charleston City or County Municipal Library. And what did I find? Books giving black pensions from the Confederate States of America.
Oh, shit.
So while you sitting here talking about that movie, let me just explain something to you. I watched that movie to this day 2 to 3 times. Now, I admit, you know, I used to hang out with the professional bull riding, and I've been featured in Professional Bull Riding magazine, and I was planning on going into the. In fact, well, I almost said that. In fact, I was gonna be in professional bull riding, but like, you know, there's a song by Garth Brooks. Sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. Well, my unanswered prayer was the fact that I got a major kidney stone right before I was going to go into the PBR thing, and being a single parent, I didn't go into it because professional bull rider would probably kill me.
Oh, yeah.
But I say that to you because in that movie, who's the white girl that's the star in the movie Ride with the Devil?
Oh, Jewel, the little country singer, little
There you
slutty
go.
chick.
And she's married to Ty Murray,
Well, they
major professional bull rider legend. See, so everything I'm saying segues to each other. So what I'm going to say to you is, trust me, I watch that movie 2 to 3 times a year since that movie's come out. That's one of my all-time favorite movies.
it gave me a different perspective on Missouri.
A lot of folks don't realize that colored boys fought for the South.
Mm,
Well, you should know that because guess where most colored folks to this day live?
the
In the
South.
South. However, I'm going to ask you the question since you said you saw the movie.
Yes, sir.
Who was he fighting for? Who was he fighting for during that in that movie?
He was fighting for his buddy. He was fighting for his friend that gave him his freedom.
Okay, but what I'm just saying is, who were they fighting for? Were they fighting for the Confederate States of America, or were they fighting for the Union Army?
No, they were fighting for Confederate States of America.
Absolutely not. And that's why you need to watch that movie again, and after me telling you a little bit of history instead of his story. Those folks out of Missouri could never make their minds up. They never really fought for the South or the North. You had folks in that state who fought on both sides.
Right.
These are folks who fought with Quantrills. You ever heard of Quantrill?
Not until that movie. I found out he was regarded.
And there you go. Because if you notice in the movie, he starts up by going, wait a minute. You the one that killed Captain So-and-so that rode with Quantrill's army?
Yep.
Quantrill was not a formal member of the Confederate States of America. Quantrill was part of the militia. So since we have this tragic shooting down in Parkland, Florida, and everybody's talking about how we got to fight for our Second Amendment rights, let me just remind you what the Second Amendment rights was all about. I spent much of my early childhood on Johns Island, South Carolina with my grandmother. I used to play along the Stonewall River. I never bought seafood till I came to California because back home, when you wanted seafood, you went out and caught it.
Right.
Shrimp, oysters. I lived literally in the mud of the Stonewall River. Now, have any of you gentlemen ever heard of the Stonewall Rebellion?
No.
There you go. So while you hear about Denmark Vesey, maybe, but most folks always hear about John Brown and Harper's Ferry.
Yes, sir.
I suggest you do a little research on the Stonewall Rebellion, because the Second Amendment is all about the niggers, especially the niggers on Johns Island, South Carolina. Now, you know, we recently had a shooting in Charleston with Dylan Roof.
Yes.
You remember that shooting?
And
where did Dylan Roof do that? Where did Dylan Roof do that shooting?
He did it at the
it was thinking that AME
church.
Yeah.
Well, it's a church that was the rebellion center for that slave rebellion back in the day.
Oh, okay. Is that?
It was on June 10th.
Starting to see the big picture here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is, Emmanuel AME Church, I have very little to do with. Just like I don't have anything to do with the AME Church here in LA. Because first of all, I was like, how the hell can you be an African, a Methodist, and an Episcopalian? Somebody's fucking confused. But
Stop. Oh my God.
All right, here in LA in 1992, I told LAPD back in 1991 that they were going to see the largest riots in U.S. history. Most of the LAPD cops ignored me. I was teaching at the LAPD Academy by the time, so all my recruits remember me telling them when they were in the academy, you better listen to what I'm telling you in this class, because one, I teach you tactics you're not going to learn from anybody else, and two, you're going to be out there on the streets on probation when this fucking city erupts into the worst riots in U.S. history. So I literally have hundreds, if not thousands, of LAPD cops who could serve as my witness to tell folks I was telling them more than a year before the Rodney King trial ended. And it wasn't a Rodney King trial because Rodney King wasn't on trial. It was the 4 LAPD cops on trial.
Yes.
But I told them for more than a year before that trial ended that the 4 cops would be found not guilty and the city would erupt into the largest civil unrest in U.S. history. Now, I say that to you because when you look at the rebellion, the Stoner Rebellion on Johns Island, South Carolina, they killed a few white folks. The problem is this. Guess where they held their meeting to plan that rebellion?
At the church.
The Emmanuel AME Church. The only reason they were unsuccessful in that rebellion is because house niggers ran back to the slave masters after they left that church and told the slave owners what was coming. Okay? So you need to understand, and we had several major rebellions. That's why I like Django Unchained, because, you know, except for Django Unchained, most movies that even talk about slavery is the blacks didn't really rebel unless they ran away. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
Okay? Even before the successful Haitian slave rebellion, there were blacks in Charleston that held rebellions. And who's the most famous pirate of all time?
Blackbeard.
There you go. And guess where Blackbeard was from?
Carolina.
The Carolinas.
Yes,
and
sir.
guess where his favorite town was?
Would it be Charleston?
Charleston. So let me tell you a little history about the Second Amendment. About 8 years prior to the Stoner Rebellion, Blackbeard, do you know that Blackbeard held Charleston hostage? The entire city of Charleston hostage?
How? How could he do that?
How would you hold a city hostage?
I mean, he only had a few ships. I mean, the city's pretty big.
You block the port.
Yeah. Can't nobody get in. Can't
You
nobody
got
get
the
out.
weapons.
Mm.
Which is another reason why you dumbass Negroes out there listening to the show need to stop turning your guns in, because white America is buying guns like it's going out of style, and you dumbasses are turning them into local police departments for a free ticket to a movie. But anyway, so Blackbeard held Charleston hostage. 1/3 of Blackbeard's pirates were niggers.
No way. I mean, I heard about the blacks on whaling ships being treated as, you know, free men because you're out there on the ocean. We need everybody to be on board.
So your listeners, last time I was on the show, many pirates weren't just pirates. One, they were Masons, and two, a lot of them used to actually work for Lloyd's of London or worked for the British East India Trade Company.
Right.
And many of them worked for kings and queens, and they just didn't fly the flag. That way, if they got caught, the king or queen could have what you call plausible deniability.
Yes.
Well, in Charleston, 1/3 of Blackbeard's pirates were niggers. So imagine not only being held hostage by these pirates, imagine seeing these niggers running down the streets of Charleston with their muskets.
No way. That would be terrifying.
There you go. So that was still stuck in a craw in the minds of white in the Continental Congress. And so later on, a few years later, when you have the Stoner Rebellion, where these niggas have an uprising in Charleston, where they kill white women and children along with the white men.
Oh, wow.
By the way, in retaliation, they took all the blacks, decapitated them, and put their heads on post fence around the city to remind all other niggas, this is what's going to happen to you if you raise up against the white man. So the Second Amendment that everybody's talking about now in the aftermath of this tragic shooting in Parkland, Florida, has not a goddamn thing to do with we need to have guns in our homes to protect us from an occupying government. when the Continental Congress was about to get rid of the Second Amendment, and they didn't want to have a permanent standing army because you already had an uprising involving white folks called the Shea Rebellion. And that was up north, you know, where most of the gun manufacturers are located.
Yes, sir.
So what happened is they were about to get rid of the clause to maintain a militia. Well, white folks from Charleston, white folks from Virginia, they said, please, 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 we can't get rid of the Second Amendment. If we have an invading army, the Congress has the authority to, you know, put together our militia for an invading army from another country. But if you get rid of the Second Amendment, we have nothing in the policy for what happens if our niggers have another uprising like down there in the Stono Rebellion.
Wow.
Or back in the days of Blackbeard. The Second Amendment is all about keeping the niggers down.
Wow. You hear that,
When they say
people?
the term militia, when you hear the term militia, go back and look at the movie called, oh, darn, I just forgot that. I got to quit drinking. There's a movie about the Citadel, because Pat Conroy died recently, but, you know, I spent a lot of my early years in Beaufort, South Carolina, and Pat Conroy did too, but he was a Citadel grad. I think I told you last time I was on the show, I disowned my brother because he graduated from the Citadel, brainwashed his dumb ass. But the Citadel is the South Carolina Military Institute. You go to Virginia, you have VMI, the Virginia Military Institute. When they graduate from that school, unless they have a contract to go in the U.S. Armed Forces, anybody who graduates from VMI is a member of the Virginia State Militia.
Wow.
Anybody who graduates from the Citadel is a member of the South Carolina State Militia. It was the boys from the South Carolina Military Institute Citadel State Militia who started the so-called Civil War. They're the ones who fired on Fort Sumter.
Right.
So when you hear this thing about the Second Amendment, anybody who tells you it's about having the right to keep guns in your home against an occupying government, they're either lying to you or they're uneducated and ignorant and just repeating something that they've heard in the propaganda machine. The Second Amendment is all about state militia, has nothing to do with the National Guard. State militia to keep the niggers down. So going back to the movie Ride with the Devil, Quantrill and the boys were part of the Missouri State Militia.
That's crazy.
No, it's not crazy. It's real.
No, I know. I get that.
They fought with the Confederate States of the Army, but they were part of the Missouri State Militia.
Right.
But since we're talking about Missouri, aren't you all the state where the NAACP says you should have a travel advisory for Negroes?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Because it ain't no joke. These people out here are scared. They're really scared.
Aren't you all the state where Rush Limbaugh has a statue up there at the state capitol?
Yep. Mr. Propagandistic. Fucking pig.
You get it. Missouri is a mixed bag of all types of tricks.
No.
So Missouri, aren't y'all the state where the Mormons fled from and hauled ass out to Utah and Montana?
Yeah.
Yep.
Missouri don't play.
So have any of you gentlemen ever seen the movie September Dawn?
No, never heard of that one.
There you go. Well, come on, brother. Is there anything I share with you all that you ever heard?
I'm here. I mean,
all right.
I'm more versed in UFO, Palladians.
What organization in this country has more files on niggers than anybody else?
Probably the Masonry.
The Mormons.
Yeah.
And you know Gay Edgar Hoover, he used to love recruiting Mormons.
Why?
One, they know how to keep their mouth shut because they're part of a cult. Two, they love the U.S. because they want to show their loyalty after being the ones who hated the U.S. for so many years. And they still do hate the U.S., by the way. So the movie September Dawn, when Mitt Romney ran the first time, for years, I know you gentlemen are probably familiar with Carl Nelson. Now, Carl Nelson's a very, 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 very esteemed journalist. In fact, he was the first person to interview
Nelson
Mandela when he got released from prison. But Carl Nelson is very modest, doesn't toot his horn. And I did radio shows with Carl out here on Stevie Wonder Station for several years.
Give the station handle.
I'm sorry. Oh, that was KJLH. That was 102.3 FM. It was a radio show called Front Page. It's still on, but ever since Carl left, I don't go on that show. But Carl, the only reason Carl left because he went back to Florida and he bought his own radio station, WSRF. And unfortunately, during Hurricane Andrew, the station suffered some major damage, so he ended up selling the station. So anyway, with Carl, I used to do radio shows with Carl out here. So when you talk about Missouri and getting old, senile, and getting drunk here, what was I talking about before I mentioned Carl?
You were talking
September Dawn.
Yes.
So I used to always come on show with Carl and say, hey, if you want to know who's going to be the next president, I'll tell y'all. So for years, I would come on the show, and by no later than February, I would let them know during the election year who's going to be the next president. I should tell you this. In 2016, that was the first time that I never said who was going to be the next president. And as you can see now with all the confusion about Russian collusion and everything else, now I see why. I never predicted who was going to be president for 2016. And up until 2016, I always came on Carl's show. Even when they thought that Obama wasn't going to get reelected, I told him in February of 2012, that Obama would get reelected when his ratings were at the lowest. So I said, nah, he's going to get reelected. And I've been doing that since Jimmy Carter. The first time I ever publicly stated who was going to be president was when Jimmy Carter ran. So anyway, and I've never been mistaken. So I say all this to you because when it comes to Missouri, a lot of Mormons got chased out of Missouri. And they're very bitter about how they were treated in Kansas and Missouri. And if you didn't know this, I enlisted in the Marine Corps in Wyandotte County. I know all about how back in the day, if you were 18 years old, you could drink on one side of the Missouri River. And if you were 21, you could drink on the other side of the Missouri River. That's before you guys' time. Because everything's 21 now. But there was a time when people used to drive into Kansas so they could get drunk at 18. And with Missouri, these folks fled out to the so-called West, so much for Native Americans living out there. You have a thing where Europeans think they have the right under so-called white or Christian law, where they find land, it's theirs now. Dick Gregory and I used to joke all the time. Dick Gregory goes, "Discover? You ain't discovered shit." That's like me sleeping in your backseat of your car. You get in your car one night and go, "Nigga, what you doing in my car?" He goes, "Your car? I discovered this car last night."
Right.
So, yeah, I miss Brother Greg. So anyway, Greg and I used to have some great conversations. So, with Missouri, these folks fled out, and September Dawn is the only movie that shows you how white Americans traveling across the western states of California were massacred, women, children, men, by the Mormons, who simply wanted to get passes through their area to get to California. But these guys were so angry about how they were forced to flee from Kansas and Missouri. They hated the U.S. In fact, Lincoln was going to go out and wipe these seditionists out. But the so-called Civil War, as you said, the War of Northern Aggression started, the war between the states started,
right.
And he couldn't afford to deploy troops out west. So at the end of the War of Northern Aggression, before Lincoln was killed, you know what Lincoln did to piss off the Mormons?
What did he do?
Guess who he sent out there to patrol those territories that the Mormons occupied?
Not Custard.
Buffalo soldiers.
Oh, black guy? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's a good way to throw a
Because the
little
Mormons
gas
are
on the
racist.
fire.
Yes,
so
they
the
are.
last thing the Mormons
No,
wanted
they
was
are
a bunch of
racist.
niggas patrolling their area, representing the Union armies. So yeah, Buffalo Soldiers were the ones who patrolled those areas in a lot of the Mormon territory. Because you know that was the ultimate insult to the Mormons. So I just say this, you know, you got confused Negroes out there like Gladys Knight and others who call themselves Mormons, but the only reason I would go to Brigham Young because I know Mormon women love niggas. And I should know. The great thing about living here in Orange County, I've said this for years, the great thing about living here in Orange County, these white boys on their bicycles who are Mormons don't even stop to ask me if I want to become a Mormon. Just keep that on right. They never knock. Hey, they gotta say, hey, don't stop there, nigga live there. They don't knock on your door. They don't stop their bicycle. They don't say damn thing to you.
Oh shit.
But the Mormon women, oh my goodness. Anyway, so I know I digress here, but I'm just saying. So when you look at this whole thing with that Ride with the Devil, there's a whole lot more to that movie. And hopefully, after I share a little information now about the Quantrill Raiders and folks that were part of the militia, not the actual CSA.
Yes, just
and how Missouri was never really a state that decided one way or the other whether they were going to join the North or the South, because you had folks on both sides throughout. And of course, who's the most famous gang in U.S. history?
Shit.
I want to say the cops.
Yeah.
It's like
Don't let it be a black and a white one. We'll slam you down to the street cop. Black police showing off for the white cop. No, the most famous gang ever was Jesse James, man.
Yes. And there was a black chick.
And where are they from?
Missouri.
And who did they ride with?
I thought they became the Rockefellers.
Brother, the Jesse James gang came from Quantrill and the militia.
Oh, shit.
It's all connected, brother.
Those guys were ruthless, dude. They were straight ruthless.
Of course they were. And the war never ended. So what you're seeing now is a culmination of all these years while people thinking that the North won the war, as if anybody wins a war, the South is never forgotten.
Right.
And
Bad blood.
You've had seditionists who hate this government, literally hate the federal government. Now, as I'm talking to you, do you know what's going on right now within the Republican Party? What's happening right now as I'm speaking to you within the Republican Party?
There's being a purge of moderate Republicans and being replaced with these fucking extremists.
No, I'm talking as I'm speaking to you right now, this second. What is going on within the Republican Party?
Don't have a clue.
You don't know because the media ain't going to tell you this. CPAC is going on.
Yeah.
Do you even know what CPAC is?
Ain't that if I'm not mistaken, that Jewish organization thing with Israel?
God, okay, stop.
Is that
CPAC, those in the Republican Party who've taken over Republican with CPAC, let me just go back and tell you, House Negro Michael Steele, during the midterm elections after the Negro got elected in the White House, white America was scared to death because they're like, you got a nigger in the White House, and if he decides to do to us what we've done to them, we in trouble.
Yes, sir.
And that's why white America is so scared, which is why they're going to keep their Second Amendment, because they're scared. They got to put the niggas down today, just like they put the niggas down in the Stonewall Rebellion. So, Michael Steele, being the House Negro he is, the Republican Party selected him as the chairman of the Republican National Convention. He's the one that brought the John Birch Society back into the mainstream of Republican politics. Because everybody knows the John Birch Society is a racist, virulent, anti-federal government organization.
Right.
Who sees the communists behind every stone. Okay? So, no white man would have ever been able to bring the John Birch Society back into the main fold of the Republican Party because they know that the Republican Party will say they're racist. But when you got a nigger standing there, go, well, the John Birch Society can't be racist because, after all, a nigger's the one that's bringing them back.
Right.
And as soon as Michael Steele was done doing that, they got rid of him and put in the person they really planned on putting in his head. And by the way, if you don't know that, since the last time I came on this show, the head of the Republican National Committee was Steve Wynn. Are you familiar with that name?
Yes, sir. Out there in Las Vegas, the Wynn Casino.
What happened to him?
Sex allegation.
and he's been taken out. So right now, as I'm speaking to you, CPAC is going on. Let me just tell you some of the names at CPAC. You ever heard of a woman with the last name Le Pen from France?
Yes. Right wing.
What do you know about her?
She's a
that's an understatement. What do you?
Well, she's basically an extremist, you know, run a ethno-Euro state in France.
No. Worse. She's a member of the National Socialist Party there. Which
Nazi.
makes her a what?
Nazi.
There you go. 3 of the premier Nazis from around the world are the guest speakers of CPAC. That's what's going on, folks.
Oh, shit. Those FEMA camps are for you.
Now that the John Birch Society has taken over the White House, has basically blackmailed Congress into doing what they want, and has forced Barack Hussein Obama not to be able to put his people on the Supreme Court, and so they have a majority in the Supreme Court. They're running this country.
Hey,
and they're bringing in Nazis to speak at CPAC.
Hey, Mark, will you that lady you just talked about? Do you know who her background and who her father was?
Back in the days of the Vichy movement.
Okay. You want to explain to the people?
You guys spoke, and you know, you had Gorka. Gorka was in the damn Trump administration, can't pass a damn security clearance, but he was in the Trump administration. Nobody really knows what he does. I mentioned to you earlier about me, you know, during my bad boy days in Beverly Hills, Anaheim Hills, Newport Beach. I was with lots of women from Hungary and Austria. You do realize Dracula was a real person, right?
Yes, he was a prince in Romania that was fighting off the Muslims.
Are you talking about Vlad?
Yeah, Vlad Draconis.
And what's the name of the guy right now running Russia?
Vlad.
Oh, Vladimir Putin. Holy shit.
So what I'm just telling you is,
holy shit.
I'm very familiar with Austria, Hungary, Bosnia, Serbia. You do realize the United States was attacked earlier this week in Montenegro?
No. What happened?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not go. Oh, because you're being distracted with the tweets. You do realize that in the last week, United States, along with United States supported insurgents, have killed more than 100 Russians, right? Over in Syria, right?
Oh,
yeah, they've been clowning over there all week too.
Shit.
No, I'm not talking about the bombings you're hearing about. I'm talking about Americans killing Russians.
That's not good.
No, but have you heard about that?
No. No.
No, because see, you're being distracted with the minutia. You'd be being distracted with the bullshit. See, this is what's going on. We're headed for a world war that you can't even imagine. It was clearly shown when you saw the Koreans, and I said Korean because I don't recognize North Korea or South Korea. Who went to the Olympics serving and
the first lady.
Together?
The first lady. She charmed it.
Okay, but did they not go there as one country?
Yeah, they went there as one country.
Yeah.
And what did Pence do?
He sat down. Kept his monkey ass in the chair.
Did he stand up? Did he clap? Did he even give her any attention?
Nope, he ignored her.
So let me explain this to you, okay? You notice how Donald Trump uses that term, "Make America Great Again"?
Yes.
So when you hear that, what does that mean to you?
That means let's turn back the clock. Jim Crow era. You better be out of town by fucking dark.
I'm saying 1952.
It's when your ass better be out of town by dark.
Well, believe it or not, somebody just said it. Okay? Now, a lot of folks would just come out superficially and say, well, that means, you know, make America white again.
Right.
Now, who was it that just said 1952?
I did.
What was going on in this country back in 1952?
We were over in Korea.
There you go.
Oh, shit.
And that's why I come on this show, brothers, because you all, 1, are intelligent, 2, you're real. You keep it real. So, who's the only country to have ever used an atom bomb?
The U.S. of A.
And having had, by the way, Hitler would have had that bomb, but why didn't Hitler have it?
Because we took their Jewish scientists.
No.
He's a moron.
Because Hitler could not get past the Jewish thing. You know, it's like me. I coach female surfers, and you brothers, you know, you did well talking about my biography. And I coach females from around the world. The fact is, most of the females who I coach are not from the U.S. Why would that be?
Because they can't get over the black thing.
They can't get past the nigger thing. These white girls sit there on the beach and watch my girls whip their ass from other countries when I always make myself available to the girls here, but their parents can't get past the nigger thing.
Right.
Well, the same thing was true of Hitler. The top scientists in Hitler's Nazi regime, guess what their ethnicity was?
Jewish.
There you go. And Hitler just couldn't get past the Jewish thing.
You know why? Let's be real.
So,
Hitler
so
was
he
getting
killed
raped
him.
back in
So he killed him when so
France.
they would have won the war for him. I'm sorry?
Hitler had
Say that again, brother?
Hitler had a disdain for Jewish men because back in the day when he was an artist in Paris, he was getting fucked as a male escort by those fucking Jewish rich men. It was in the pink swastika book.
In fact, because some of my mentors were former World War II Nazi, I can neither confirm or deny that. But anyway, I'll just say this: had Hitler
yeah, it's the truth.
Right.
Had Hitler got past the Jewish
He had a
thing,
little Jew in him.
Yeah.
they would have had the bomb. They would have had the military. They would have had everything that the U.S. have. Because after all, the first thing Hitler did when he started the war. Oh, by the way, you know, since I talked to you last on your show, it's now illegal in Poland to say that the Poles were involved with killing the Jews.
Well, technically they weren't. Because when the SS rode through after they did that offensive up there and the Red Army was attacking them, that's when they sent in the Death Squad, the SS.
You didn't answer my question. I answered a yes or no question. If you guys ever go to court, just remember this. If a lawyer asks you a yes or no question, you answer yes or no and shut the fuck up, or you're going to end up putting yourself in a position where they're going to use it against you and take you down. I'm going to ask you again. Are you aware that since I talked to you on this show the last time, Poland has a law that if you even say that the Poles were involved with the Jews being eradicated, you can go to jail?
No. The answer would be unequivocally no.
No. You went through that whole milieu there, and that's all well and good, okay? Did France, were there any people in France that had anything to do with eradicating Jews?
Yes, the VC regime. The regime that was created after the real French government was dissolved.
That was a yes or no question.
Oh.
You're doing it again.
Oh, yes. Or maybe, I don't know.
Okay, now, so to answer your question earlier, Le Pen's father was a part of the Vichy movement.
Oh, shit.
However, Le Pen speaks at CPAC and other places and tells folks it never happened. That's the kind of people they got going on at CPAC. More importantly,
Holocaust deniers.
Right. So now you take a guy like Mike Pence. I've come on this show before and I said the only person more dangerous than Mike Pence is Ted Cruz. Now, Ted Cruz, his biggest supporter was a guy from IHOP, International House of Prayer, Evangelicals. Mike Bickle is the leader of the... Oh, I'm sorry. Guess where his headquarters is?
Where?
Kansas. And Missouri and Kansas are his two biggest homesteads. That's where all you evangelicals are.
Yeah.
And you know, who was the one guy that had the Baptist church that used to come out of Kansas and protested all the war funerals?
Billy Graham?
No. I know you talking about because they was even in this town. It was crap. It was they protested a couple of rallies actually in this town.
What, Westboro Baptist
Westboro, yeah.
Phillips.
Yeah.
So let me just tell you a little history here about Westboro Baptist Church, because most folks don't know this. You want to know the number one reason why Westboro Baptist Church always gets negative publicity?
Why?
Because when those racist bastards in Kansas and Missouri were out there saying no niggas gonna get their civil rights, guess who was standing on the front line fighting for black folks?
Who? Westboro Baptist Church?
There you go.
Wow.
And like I said to your listeners earlier, I will never come on this show and lie to you. So these hateful anal pores have never forgiven the leaders of Westboro Baptist Church for being out there long before it was politically correct or fashionable, fighting for the civil rights of the Negroes in Kansas and Missouri.
Wow. Wow.
But you've never heard that before.
Hell no, we never heard that shit before.
You want to get
Hell
people
no.
riled up around here? Bring in Westboro. You have people coming from miles
But
and all
on that
different
movie, Ride with the
directions.
Devil, you brought in the abolition, and that would heat the people up down here too. What he's saying is these people are stuck in this fucking fucked up mindset, and
who's the all-time favorite sheriff in U.S. history?
Oh God. Well, fictional would be
Wyatt
Andy
Earp.
Griffith.
Have you ever heard of Wyatt Earp?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen the movie Tombstone?
Oh God, years ago, I can't really recall.
I'm sorry, was that a yes or no question?
Oh yes, I've seen it, but can't recall it.
Okay, was the movie Tombstone about Wyatt Earp?
I thought it was about Doc Holliday, but yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Well, Doc Holliday was his friend.
Mm-hmm.
And what did Wyatt Earp do? When you came to town, you had to take your pistols off.
Yeah, he took all the guns.
He did.
Oh, but I'm sorry. The U.S. Constitution says I have the right to keep my gun.
Oh, stop! I see where this is going. Stop.
Anybody who talks their bullshit about the Second Amendment and yet at the same time praise Wyatt Earp as being one of the all-time greats, just go back and watch the movie Tombstone. That's what started the big shootout at the OK Corral. Those guys, he took their guns, they go in town, they party, and they got their guns back when they left town.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say Tombstone is a good movie. It's not all historically accurate. There was a movie by Kevin Costner that's far more historically accurate on who Wyatt Earp really was. So, of course, they overshadowed that movie with Tombstone because Tombstone is more fun. But what I will say I like about Tombstone, you know Charlton Heston's in that movie, right?
Yeah, but wasn't he in
He's
the
only in the movie
NRA?
for like 45. He's only in the movie for like. And I was very disappointed with Charlton Heston. See, Charlton Heston, just like Westboro Baptist Church, was out there on the front lines fighting with black folks
Yes, he was. He was.
when most folks in Hollywood would risk their careers. The three guys was Harry Belafonte,
Mm-hmm.
Charlton Heston,
Marlon Brando.
and Marlon Brando.
Yes.
Damn. See, I'm telling you, this is why I come on this show, brother.
I knew it.
And it's sad because by the time Charlton Heston died, his legacy was him being one of these Second Amendment NRA
Yes.
knuckleheads.
Yes.
See,
Trash.
so that's how people are going to remember Charlton Heston, when in fact, Charlton Heston, and I've got photographs of him in '65 at
He was all
Reflection
about
Pond
humanity, dude. He really
when Martin
was.
Luther King spoke. Marlon Brando, too. Those
Yeah.
guys risked their careers back when it wasn't politically correct.
And I hate how they've been a character assassinating Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor. Quincy Jones talking about they've been butt fucking each other and all this faggot shit. Not that I don't want to go on a gay tirade. I'm not doing that. But I'm just saying that's some fucking
I'll let you
bullshit.
be done, brother, but I have an agenda here, so when you're done, I'm going to go back to what I was talking about.
Oh, my bad.
Anyway, with Charlton Heston, that's why if you notice, you know how everybody talks about AIDS, right?
Yes.
And you know how Will Smith was in a movie recently where he was like the only surviving guy, and after this disease broke out. and
Yeah,
everything?
Legend or I Am
Legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But that movie was nothing but a ripoff of a Charlton Heston movie.
the Soylent Green movie,
It's called The Omega Man.
Omega Man.
Are you guys writing this down? Because I know you're recruiting it, but go back and check out The Omega Man, and you will see there's nothing in the Will Smith movie that's not an Omega Man.
Oh shit.
And you'll see also in that movie, guess who Charlton Heston hooks up with?
Who?
A negress. Because Charlton Heston always had the hots for sisters.
You know it.
Mm-hmm.
We know it.
The Omega Man. And I'm telling you, it's really sad because the Will Smith movie is nothing but almost an identical ripoff of Omega Man that came out more than 20 years earlier.
But you already
And the
said
sad thing is you guys
Hollywood's out of fucking
All they
deals.
do is recycle
Yeah, they're
old
out
movies.
of, they're out of ideals.
But my point to you is this. Omega Man came out before the term AIDS was ever used.
But hold on 1 second. Let's get to those questions. We need to answer some of the questions that you got on that
Well,
phone.
before we get to your question, because
I
you
want
know
him
you
to
said
finish
this
this
thing, but I
first.
got all
Oh,
the
yeah,
time in
yeah.
the world, so it's up to you guys. But my
No,
point is,
we
No.
got all the time in the world
Yeah.
too. We definitely for
Yeah,
you.
I
what
want
I'm
him
trying
to
tell
finish
you
it up.
is
I'm
the
keeping track.
Tombstone clearly shows you that there were sheriffs and marshals around this country that made you take your guns off before you came into town. So anybody who's talking this crap today about Second Amendment is lying, because they've already had laws on the books all over this country.
Let me ask you this,
regarding
Mark.
You can't carry a gun.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Are you saying to us and our audience tonight that we should just turn in our guns and be disarmed?
No.
I said earlier, for all you Negroes out there who keep turning your guns in for a ticket to a movie, you're an idiot, because white America is buying guns and bullets like it's going out of style. So I guess that was the rhetorical question.
There you go. I just
Anybody
want to make
can
sure.
go back and play the tape from this show tonight, and no, I've already said that. More importantly, I know you all have seen the movie Black Panther.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I haven't.
And who's the Queen Mother in that movie?
Oh,
Is it
no, is that like
Angela Bassett? Is it
And there
her?
was a time I would drink her bathwater. So, Angela Bassett. All right. Now, if you look at the movie Black Panther,
yeah.
what movie did Angela Bassett play in where she was also a Queen Mother, other than Black Panther?
Was she a what? I couldn't
A
quite
Queen
hear.
Mother. What other movie that she played in that she was a Queen Mother other than Black Panther?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Well, I'll give you a hint. When you look at the two characters in Black Panther
I never seen
that are
it.
related by blood, what two characters in real life are people trying to compare them to?
Damn, dude.
I never seen the movie Black Panther, so I couldn't even tell you. I
I'll
haven't
give you
seen.
another hint. When you look at the Marvel comics and they have the X-Men, you know how you have the two best friends who are now enemies?
Yeah, Captain
Do
America.
you know who those two men from
Iron Man.
Do you know who those two men from those two men are symbolizing in real life?
It's
No.
Professor X and Magneto.
But who are they in real life?
I don't know who they are in real life.
Give me a second.
Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
Wow.
Go back to Black Panther. Who are the two relatives? Who are they emulating in real life?
I never seen the movie, so I don't know.
Maybe Martin Luther King and
Right.
Malcolm X. Because one's
Was
hardcore.
peaceful, and one said, "Fuck this, we're gonna kick their ass."
Yes. The villain says that.
So I'm going back now. Angela Bassett. What movie did she play in where she was the Queen Mother?
Oh man, she was a Queen Mother. I have
Malcolm
no idea.
X.
Malcolm X.
Denzel Washington played Malcolm X.
Right.
Angela Bassett was his wife, Betty Shabazz.
Yeah,
Damn, dude.
I didn't even think of it that way. Yeah.
Now, to answer your question, it had to be rhetorical. That movie starts off with the brother who's a minister, and his wife was very, 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 very light-skinned because she was a mulatto, and she chose to marry a dark black man to show people she's black, which
Right.
is Malcolm's father. When the Klan came to his house, why did they leave?
You talking about from the oh, you got my
He walked out on his front porch with his goddamn shotgun and said, "You white peckerheads better get the fuck out of here." So when
Right.
you sit here going to ask me to turn our guns in,
yeah.
those Klan members didn't leave his house because he was being diplomatic.
Yeah,
They left his house because they go, "Damn, this nigga got a gun."
right.
So any black person out there stupid enough to be turning their guns in, I don't have much to say for you.
Yeah, don't
Because
do.
these white folks are buying guns. Do you realize there was a gun show in Parkland, Florida, 2 days after that shooting at the high school?
No, I don't know, but I'm not surprised.
Do you realize there's a congressman running for office not too far from where you all live? That one of the things at the campaign rally was a raffle for an AR-15, and even after that Parkland shooting, he refused to change the raffle.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. In Missouri, it's whack jobs down here for sure. But when you
What I'm
brought
saying to you is, while ignorant black folks and these so-called leftists, liberals, let me just remind you of something. The Jews allowed their guns to be taken too,
and they end up in ovens.
because most Jews were not rounded up by the Nazi army. Who were they rounded up by?
Probably by other Jews.
By the local police.
Yep.
So now let's fast forward to right now. You notice how Donald Trump is saying he's going to pull ICE and Border Patrol out of California?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he threatening that? What do they have out here in California they're calling themselves when it comes to immigrants?
Sanctuary
cities.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a sanctuary city.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why there's no such thing as a sanctuary city?
Because it's the federal government that would supersede your sanctuary city mandates.
Well, because the federal government is the one who handles immigration issues.
Yes.
So just to show you how racist this country is, white America will allow the federal government to come in and force local cops to enforce federal law when it comes to rounding up the wetbacks, right?
Right.
But they don't realize once you open that Pandora's box, once you do it for the wetbacks, now you can also come in and enforce everything else, making the local cops enforce federal law.
Oh, wow.
See, this is how the system operates. When you think you're fighting the system is
it's doing what
you demand the response to the chaos, not realizing that's what they wanted you to do all along. But once you've demanded, they go, well, I'm just doing what the people demanded.
Yeah.
I'm just giving the people what they want.
It's just like in the early 2000s where you had all those Christian organizations going to schools. We're going to have after-school Bible study.
Right.
Well, as soon as you open that up, guess what? You open it up to the Satanists, the Buddhists, the whoever else.
Right.
Because all religions have to be treated
now that
equal.
you mentioned that, what is Donald Trump saying that he has agreed that is a good idea in response to Parkland
Just get the
and the
teachers.
tragic school shooting?
Get the teachers guns. Let them come strapped.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me ask you the question. Not only guns, what else? How else are they going to protect the campus?
Oh, aren't they putting police stations actually in the campus?
Okay, but what else? What do they keep saying? If they had this at the school, he would have never got on campus. Well, let me make it simple for you. What do they have at all? Predominantly nigger schools.
Oh,
Metal
detectors.
detectors.
Yeah.
Metal detectors.
I was
So let me just tell you this, okay?
going through metal
Now, stop.
detectors
Listen
when
to
I was
me.
in school.
Most mass shootings at schools in this country, do you know what they have in common? One, they're predominantly white schools, and they're in middle class, upper middle class neighborhoods. That's why there was no metal detector there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You put those in the inner city schools for those folks, like Hillary Clinton calls them the super predators.
Yes,
Those
sir.
are the kind of folks that need metal detector. We don't need no metal detector out here because we're in sweet poly, purebred,
civilized,
white America, and we don't live like that. Yet, if you look at all the mass shootings, the vast majority of mass shootings at schools occur in middle class, upper middle class, white neighborhoods. Now, I say this to you because who is the Secretary of Education right now? Who's the Secretary of Education?
Betsy DeVos.
And what organization did I already tell you she's a member of?
John Birch Society.
And how does she feel about public schools?
She wants it privatized.
So what kind of school was Parkland? That school in Parkland?
It was public.
Let me just put it this way. Don't be surprised if many of these shootings happen by design at public schools, because now a lot of white folks, guess what they're doing? Pulling their children out of that public school, and guess where they're going to go to school now?
Private schools.
Or charter schools.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Meanwhile, they're turning the public schools into police states.
Yep.
And who's going to be the one to train these teachers? And what organization is going to make the money off it? By putting guns in all the schools, you just increase firearm sales.
Mm-hmm.
Armed teachers in the schools, they have to be properly trained.
Right.
So you're going to have NRA-sanctioned private fascist, corporate fascist, security industry companies coming in and getting contracts now in all the public schools to make your schools feel safe. And you don't even realize it was all done by design.
But let me tell you the real repercussion of this thing. Now, when every family out here has guns, right, and old boy comes in drunk after working in the either over there in the mines or over there at the oil rigs, he's gonna come in. You know, I don't care if I am fucking this little hot piece of pussy, and that old lady's gonna go and grab that gun and blow his monkey ass away. That's what's gonna happen. It happened back in the '60s. It's gonna happen now.
Man, they ain't gonna never take away the guns. What they gonna do is separate you from the gun. Like what a lot of people don't realize, almost from since the time that school shooting happened to right to this day, as we sitting right here, probably almost 30 kids have been arrested for showing pictures on social media of guns.
Oh yeah, the fear's out there.
Right here, right in
something, say something, see something.
Yes.
Yep, a University City high school student.
What I just said to you went right over your head. You're not listening to me, man. I just told you how they're going to turn the public schools into a police state.
Yeah.
Because Betsy DeVos hates the public schools. In fact, do you know what they call public schools?
What?
They call them government schools.
Mm.
And they hate the federal government. The Civil War is going on right in front of you guys, and you don't even see it. I'm telling you, it ain't by accident that these shootings happen on public school grounds in upper middle class white neighborhoods.
It's by design.
Yeah.
It's by design. And look how many times this guy, 39 times police calls for service went to his house.
Yeah.
And nobody did a damn thing?
Because
I'm just going to ask you a question. Who the hell shoots up a school, goes to a mall, goes to McDonald's, and then sits on a bus bench and gets arrested?
A white male.
You do realize there are people out there who have already been interviewed who said they walked down the hallway with him while the shooting was going on.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Was that a yes or no?
No, I did not know that. I'm just blowing my mind away.
What?
Hey.
That
like
motherfuckers were walking down the fucking hallway with this fuck.
Yeah.
While the shooting's going on.
Yeah.
How the fuck can he be in two different places at one time? Is he the shooter or is he this kid walking down the
It's
fucking
one
hall?
thing I noticed. It's a lot of like chaos organizations been popping up too since like 2012, where you can like there's companies out there that can organize this type of stuff, protests, active shootings, and just all kind of chaos
out there. I just said something to you, like I said before. I just share the information. You look up for yourself. Female student walks down hallway with shooter and says, "This is what she." By the way, this is what she said to him. Well, damn, I'm surprised you're not the one shooting up the school, because everybody knew he was a fucking nut. And then she goes on to say, and while I was talking to him, I heard the shooting going on the other side of the school.
So who was doing the fucking shooting? That's the real question. Who was shooting these kids?
It's probably one of these organizations that they make money off
I'm
of
not going to
creating
go
this
there.
type
I'm just
of stuff.
putting, hey, listen, brothers, I'm not going there, that rabbit hole. I'm just putting the information out there and telling you what I'm telling you is already out there if you would take the time to do some research.
I researched the one thing that's how I found out about the
San
chaos.
Bernardino. You remember San Bernardino?
Yep.
Yes.
Remember the shooting in San Bernardino? You do realize witnesses came out and talked to NBC News out here in California minutes after that shooting and said that it was 3 white guys all dressed in black.
This is an after action.
You were aware of that?
No, I was not.
Well, I'm telling you that. So you Google that one. Just Google San Bernardino shooters, white males all dressed in black. I didn't say it. These are people being interviewed on NBC News immediately after the shooting.
But the bottom line, though, if that's what he's saying,
and then the brother, don't tell me the bottom line because I'm trying to tell you. But you were told it was a Muslim woman and a Muslim man, and if you notice, those fucking cops made sure they were never going to talk.
Right.
They riddled that car so many times. There was no way in the world they're going to ever talk. I didn't say this. You can Google NBC News. San Bernardino shooters were white males dressed in black.
I remember saying that.
That's
I totally
horrible,
remember
dude.
saying that.
Because
so what I'm trying to tell you at the same time, I'm not saying this. You've already got newspapers around the world who have interviewed a girl named Alexa, who's on the hall, with the alleged shooter, and she said to him, "Well, damn, knowing who you are, I thought you'd be the one shooting up the school." And she walks with him out the school while the shooting is going on. And I challenge somebody to come back and say I'm making this up, because I'm not the one who's telling you the story. I'm telling you that story's out there. And this, by the way, there was somebody from like CNN who interviewed her, and he was going to come on that night.
Oh, stick
and
to
all
the
of a sudden
script.
that story was canceled.
Yeah, because he was that teen kid that CNN said that you guys stick to the script. They had a script for him. Oh my gosh!
I've been seeing a whole bunch of different videos across the internet with contradicting stories and a whole bunch of stuff.
So, Mark, what is the average person to do? What's the average guy, gal to do?
Having said what you just said, well, this is what the average person should do. 1, stop putting your personal information on social media sites. 2, stop disrespecting your family. 3, you need to know who your family is. You can choose your friends. You can't choose your family. We're headed for a civil war as well as a world war. Now, I just told you that the embassy in the U.S. Embassy in Montenegro, a guy from the days of the Serbian War, Bosnian War, East Kosovo, threw a grenade over into the U.S. Embassy and then afterwards supposedly killed himself with another grenade, and you ain't even heard about it. I just told you about 100 Russians getting killed by both U.S.-backed militia, I love that term, militia, and U.S. forces. There were actually U.S. drones and U.S. military personnel that took out Russian tanks, and you ain't even heard about it. As I'm speaking to you right now, you got shooting skirmishes going on the borders of China with Myanmar, which, you know, we used to call Burma. There are things going on around the world right now. And meanwhile, coming back to what I said earlier, because the brother was so astute and said, they want to take this country back to 1952. Well, let me explain something to you. When Donald Trump says, make America great again, do you know the last time they thought America was great?
1952.
Who was the general in charge of the war in Korea?
I cannot. I don't know right offhand. I know the guy in Vietnam.
I'll give you a hint. Harry S. Truman relieved him of his command.
It can be Eisenhower.
No, that was World War II.
Shit. I don't know, Mark. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I'll give you another hint. Who says, I shall return?
Oh, my God. MacArthur.
Yeah.
Well, that's who got relieved by Truman in Korea. Remember I asked you earlier in this show, what's the only country that ever dropped an atom bomb on a country?
It was us. Yes.
You ever heard of the Rosenbergs?
I heard of them, but vaguely.
The Rosenbergs were accused of treason by leaking government secrets to the Russians, which gave the Russians access to the atom bomb.
Right.
Most folks in this country, now I'm not going to sit here and say the Rosenbergs were traitors. I'm not going to sit here and say the Rosenbergs were guilty. I'm not going to sit here and say the Rosenbergs did what was correct. But let me just tell you something that I know you guys don't know, but most folks have no idea. Had it not been for the Rosenbergs leaking that information, access to the atom bomb, there would be no Korea. What do you think MacArthur was planning on doing on Korea?
They wanted to drop
Nuclear.
atom bombs on Korea.
And why didn't they?
Don't know. Why?
I think
Guess who was an ally? Guess who was an ally with North Korea?
Oh, Soviet fucking Union.
Yeah.
Fucking cunts.
And guess what the Soviet Union had?
Atom fucking bombs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when you see these policies come out about Iran or North Korea and others, the reason they don't want those countries to have the access to an atom bomb,
The
because
allies
you
with
can't
Russia.
push them around. They can fuck you over the way you can fuck them over.
Yeah. But isn't that a good fucking over as long as we're the ones doing the fucking and they're on bottom?
So what I'm trying to say to you is, MacArthur, when MacArthur got relieved by Truman, he had Navy ships poised trying to provoke Korea into a conflict just like the Gulf of Tonkin with Vietnam. And he was planning on nuking them.
Damn.
When Truman found out about it, all these Navy ships were under the command of MacArthur in the morning. That afternoon, MacArthur had been relieved, and the guys went to bed that night under the direction of General Lyman.
He played
when
ball.
MacArthur got relieved, his number one right-hand man, Army Colonel, and several other folks, that's when they formed and created, guess what organization?
The John Birch fucking Society.
There you go. Are you starting to hear me, folks? Listen to what I'm telling you.
Oh, shit. He
They're
was
back,
pissed.
bigger
Because
and stronger than ever before. And if you listen to Donald Trump's speeches, all he does is repeat what MacArthur says. Because in these crazy folks' minds, they believe the United States has not been a great country since the day that Douglas MacArthur got relieved of duty. So now let me take this back a few years earlier. Have you ever heard of Smedley Butler?
I heard that name, yes.
Smedley Butler is a U.S. Marine Corps general. Not one, two Medal of Honors. Now, I don't ever forgive him for what he did in Haiti, but I'll just say this. Had it not been for Smedley Butler, Franklin Delano Roosevelt would have been the victim of a coup d'etat. Now, the original plan was to put Douglas MacArthur in and replace Franklin Delano Roosevelt. However, Franklin Delano Roosevelt would not be replaced by Douglas MacArthur because in World War I, white folks who were promised their benefits after the war
got shot.
Didn't get their benefits.
They got shot up there at the
So
White House.
You had white boys camped out at the White House.
Yep.
Demanding their benefits, like Occupy Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
And you had Douglas MacArthur and George Patton bring in the cavalry that shot, killed, and burned down their villages.
Wasn't that under General Persia?
So Pershing was there and Patton. So what I'm telling you is, there's no way the enlisted folks would follow MacArthur. So they said, well, what general can we pick that both the officers love and the enlisted love? It was Smedley Butler. So they brought Smedley Butler in. They were planning on overthrow to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, except for one problem. Smedley Butler was a true patriot. And he reported everything I'm telling you to Gay Edgar Hoover.
Gay Edgar Hoover.
So what ended up happening is this went into the newspapers calling him a conspiracy. Well, they didn't use the term conspiracy now, because, by the way, I should tell you, do you even know where the term conspiracy comes from?
Not for certain, but I know it's used to fucking make people.
The term was never used until after Kennedy was killed. When Kennedy was killed, and anybody who came out and said Oswald didn't do it, CIA called you a conspiracy nut.
Yeah.
That term was never used in this country before Kennedy. But anyway, so getting back, I digress. So getting back to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, so they brought in Smedley Butler. He reported all to Gay Edgar Hoover. The newspapers all called Gay Edgar Hoover paranoid, whatever. Gay Edgar Hoover investigated. Turned out everything he said was true. Now, we're talking to guys who are the CEOs of organizations like Singer Sewing Machine, Remington Arms, J.C. Penney. Okay, the top corporations in this country, guys. That's what I'm talking about. By the way, some of these guys are still around. So, after calling, and by the way, Smedley Butler, you know why he was forced to retire from the Marine Corps?
No.
He was a shoo-in for commandant until he called Mussolini a fascist.
But he was a fascist.
Mussolini is the one who made the term fascism.
Yes.
But when Smedley Butler... So what am I trying to tell you? The leaders of this country, the top corporations, guess who they were supporting going into World War II?
The fucking Nazis and fascists.
There you go. And Smedley Butler fucked it up for them. So anyway, a newspaper, once it turned out that everything Butler said was true, the newspapers that called him a paranoid nut printed articles buried in the back of the newspaper. None of the people involved in prison, many of them are still around today. And while folks think everybody from World War II is dead, let me just remind you, George Herbert Walker Brooks was in World War II, and he's still alive.
Yeah.
So, What I'm telling you is they're not just back. When Douglas MacArthur was relieved of duty, his number one right-hand man created the John Birch Society. And from that day forward, they've been planning on taking over this country. So if you want a movie, I recommend, because I've already said a few earlier about September Dawn and all that. But if you want a new movie, what I'm talking about, look at the movie with Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas. It's called 7 Days in May.
7 Days in May.
And you would see the plan with the John Birch Society with certain generals who were planning to take over the U.S. government during the Kennedy administration. So Eisenhower comes out with his warning about the U.S. military-industrial complex, right?
Right.
Wrong. The original term was the U.S. Military-Industrial Congressional Complex. But they took out congressional. So what am I telling you? Eisenhower was telling you back in the 1950s who controlled Congress.
Right.
The lobbyists. So I'm just going to ask you gentlemen a question here. Now, this is rhetorical on my part, but I want to hear you say it. You hear all these folks now talking about because of the school shooting, we need to get rid of the AR-15?
Right.
People want to praise Eisenhower for not being all this military. That's a bunch of crap. Eisenhower, well, I'll just say this. With my background, we have a saying. When the Marines are too noisy, you send in the men of CIA. So during the 50s, Eisenhower was sending CIA to overthrow Iran, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Honduras, countries in Africa. Oh, and don't forget Che Guevara, Cuba. All right?
But why? Why was he doing this?
When CIA does those operations, who do you think they use?
Well, probably mercs, mercenaries, and other undesirables.
Usually Army. In the Army, who do they use?
Oh, they're going to use the Rangers or Special Forces.
Marine Corps?
They're going to use the Recon or, well, if you go to Navy SEALs. Air Force would be pararescue.
So that's who was running operations for us during Eisenhower's administration. Who makes the weapons for those elite units?
Well, normally they typically come from DARPA.
No, come on. Who makes the weapons? The same person who made that weapon that killed those folks in Parkland. Not a goddamn thing's going to happen to the firearms industry because they know where the bones are buried.
Oh, shit.
And that's where people don't get it. While folks talk about the NRA is not even the most right-wing organization. 1,000 yards, less than 1,000 yards from the school shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, was the second largest gun lobbyist group in this country, and most folks have never heard about them. There are gun lobbyist groups in this country that hate the NRA because they don't think the NRA goes far enough.
Right.
So while you're being distracted with the okey doke about the NRA is nothing but a bag man for whom? Who's the real number one threat?
Shit.
Not the gun lobbyists, the gun manufacturers. And you are not going to fuck with the gun manufacturers because they're the same ones who make our guns to travel around the world and do what we do.
Oh, shit.
They are untouchable. I'm sorry to say this to you folks. I love Emma Gonzalez. I think she should be made Woman of the Year. But when it's all said and done, Congress ain't going to do a damn thing, and neither are those teenagers down in Parkland, Florida. And that's why I wanted to come on your show tonight and let them know that. Because the same folks who make the weapons that I carried as a U.S. Marine, the same folks who made the weapons that I carried as a LAPD officer and sergeant, are the same folks who make the weapons I got in my goddamn gun safe.
Oh, shit.
Well, there you have it.
I mean,
and that's reality.
It's too complex, you know? You gotta protect your home.
Simple.
I mean, you gotta protect your home. You have to have firearms to protect your home from the fucking savages. But at the same time,
Oh,
savages are being used by the government.
You wouldn't have any savages if everybody had an equal opportunity to a damn job.
Oh,
and
shit.
And you didn't have, like, 1% of the population want to own everything.
Shit. Yeah, there it is. Right there.
You don't have riots and you don't have high crime when people have jobs.
Right. Because people are living their
lives. By the way,
lives.
you also don't have racism when people have jobs. See, when you don't have a job, they blame the other person for why you don't have a job. So now you hate them because you think they took your job.
That's the play. That's been the play ever since.
Yep.
Kind of like the colored folks right now, the colored folks who are sitting here talking their hate towards the immigrants.
Yes.
Well, them immigrants are taking our jobs. Well, guess what?
That was not your
job. They said to white folks back in the 50s. Them niggers are taking your jobs.
Mm-hmm. Listen, the job only belongs to the man that's making the job. Right.
That's how you divide and separate.
And they've done a great job, dude.
So I'm just letting you know, I commend Emma Gonzalez. And I love the fact that the young folks are out there because, most of my surfers are little white 13-year-old girls, 13 to 17 years old, and I don't let my girls tolerate misogyny. I teach them they can be strong, I teach them they can be confident, and I teach them they can be feminine. And that's why I love the movie Black Panthers, because those black women will kick your ass, and there was not one damn woman in that movie I couldn't have fallen in love with.
I hear you. No, I didn't.
And most folks don't know this, but Saddam Hussein, guess who were his immediate bodyguards?
You said Saddam Hussein? I couldn't hear you.
When Saddam Hussein was still alive, guess who were his immediate bodyguards?
I don't know.
All women.
No, they don't tell us that. They only show us him gassing the Kurds. They never really told
What I'm
us.
telling you is, with Saddam Hussein, he knew my fantasy was always to train an all-woman combat unit. So when I saw that movie Black Panthers, I was sitting in the audience going, yeah. Yeah.
No,
They'd kick your ass, but when it needed to be, they could be the most feminine woman on the planet.
Right.
Because it doesn't have to be one or the other. You don't have to be a hardcore lesbian dyke and hate men. But, that's the picture they paint. So
yeah.
Divide and conquer.
Right. You want to go to...
But I'm sorry. So you had to... But I'm sorry. Now that I've gone on past your hour...
No, you're
you
fine.
Have some questions for me?
You're fine.
You had some questions for me now, sir?
Yeah, some of your fans.
And I did not say I wanted to sleep with you.
Some of your fans sent in some questions. Not sure if we'll get through all of them, but we'll try the best we can. So this was the first one sent in, so I'm just going to order I received them.
Yes,
and a guy wanted to know who really created the pyramid, and is astrology real?
Created what, sir?
Who created the pyramid, and is astrology true?
Okay, let's start with that one first. Have you all seen the movie Stargate?
Yeah, I remember it.
Do you remember what that movie was about?
It's about, basically transportation between one planet to another using ancient advanced technology.
What were they specifically using to transport? They were saying the pyramids was a landing port for their alien spacecraft.
Yeah, they did say that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying this, okay? My personal belief, and that's all it is, I think we've done this all before. See, man gets too big for his britches, always trying to be God, and we end up blowing ourselves up and starting all over again. And I think during the time of the creation of the pyramids, man had gotten further than we are right now. That's why we still don't have one single crane on this planet that can lift one slab of the pyramids. So, not believing that man could have done that, we want to sit there and believe there had to be aliens from another planet.
Right there.
And that's why I think sometimes when you look at things like drawings of Vincent van Gogh and others, They have drawings of helicopters back from the 1500s or whenever. I'm just saying that my personal belief is, and we're going to do it again because we're stupid. We're going to get to the point where we end up having an all-out nuclear war and blowing this planet up again, and then, you know, genes and chromosomes are going to crawl out from the muck, and man will come back again. It's like the Matrix. If you ever watched the Matrix, well, I don't want to, spoiler alert. Matrix, at the end, he realizes
he done it before.
All I'm doing is keep trying to change the outcome, and they showed him all these video screens on the wall. Well, dude, you've already done this like 350 times.
Right. And you ain't got it right yet.
You're going to end up with the same. I'm sorry?
Yeah, he ain't got it right yet.
And that's what we are. I believe man's doing the same thing. I believe that the pyramids were created by, if you wanted to call them Africans, but they may not have been called Africans or Kemet back in those days. But whoever was in that region,
a goon.
Man did those pyramids with the technology that we still today don't have. However, what I will say to you is this. If you look closely at the movie Black Panthers, you will see the same technology is very similar to the movie Stargate.
Right. I've talked to
the
older
Black Panthers, they kept laughing because they're like stupid Americans and all these. I like it when she goes, "Oh, another white colonizer I have to save." But she was laughing because the fact is, blacks on the planet and continent of Africa, our technology was far more advanced.
Right.
But we didn't use it for the purposes that Europeans do. But you have to understand, in the continent of Africa, you have a moderate climate. Whereas in Europe, they have a hostile weather environment where everything is survival, 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 kill your damn. Everybody's your rival or your enemy if you want to survive. They don't know how to share things.
No, because that environment would not allow sharing.
And so when they go over to Africa, you know, blacks over there are like, oh, we don't want these. What the hell? We don't give a damn about this shiny crap on the beach. Well, whites, oh, these are diamonds.
Yes.
We have these? Sure. And then they came back and took it all. You know,
and the beers.
Well, you know, diamonds had no value to blacks in Africa. See, that's the kind of false value that Europeans have, and still have. And so, you know, you have the beers and everybody else who's still lying to you today about how diamonds are rare. Diamonds aren't rare.
They're very common.
What they do is control the market and the mining so that you think they're rare. Same thing with oil. Oil's not rare. Right. You know there are oil fields that have been depleted. And since they've been depleted, they've not filled up with oil again?
Well, think about this here. If you ever born a fire, and you look at...
a yes or a no?
No.
I just asked you another yes or no question. Do you know there are oil fields on this planet that have been depleted, and those oil fields haven't been tapped in years, but if you go back to those oil fields, they're full of oil again?
No, I did not know that.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. So that means right there, the price of oil and gas shouldn't be so high because guess what?
It's being replenished.
There's a lot more oil on this planet than people are thinking, and it may not be coming from the source that people have been lied to believe that oil is, you know, we're running out of oil. Now, I'm not saying we should stay in an oil, fossil fuel environment or whatever they want to call it. I'm just saying to you, it's not as rare and scarce as many folks want you to believe. But I'm sorry, what were you saying, brother?
Okay, I got another question for you. Ask Mark about...
Well, hang on before you finish that. So what I'm just saying is when it comes to the pyramid, I believe we have past civilizations that have died out. Mankind has discovered the artifacts from those past civilizations, and sometimes some of those past civilizations were beyond us. It's just like the Mayans, and there's a runway down in Mexico, and everybody will say, well, you know, that must be chariots of the god.
Right.
Because there's no way in the world. We talk about the 7 wonders of the planet. And nobody can explain how can man today can't build that stuff, so how could it have been built? And the last part is astrology true? Well, you basically have two things. You have astrology and you have astronomy. You have those folks who were sun worshipers and you have those folks that are moon worshipers. I'm not into astrology because, of course, I was brought up in the so-called Judeo-Christian background. So,
there's a no-no.
There's a saying in the Catholic Church. If you give me your child for the first 7 years, you can have your child back. There's a reason for that because after 7 years, basically that child's personality has been developed.
Mhm.
Well, I'm not going to ever say that I have the mastery on or the monopoly on truth, but I just say that I have stayed away from astrology. I'm not into folks who like to predict the future and talk to the dead. I do
Mm.
know only after close to before my mom died. I didn't realize until right before she died when I sat down and talked to her that I found out that when I was only 2 years old, I was already being used for psychic experiments by apparently Nazi doctors that came here from Germany that were in New York hospitals. And I've always believed now, knowing what I know today, I seriously believe that that was actually a product of some experiment from some government agency. But
Mm.
I'll just say, when it comes to astrology, I can't answer the question on whether it's true or not because I'm biased based on my Judeo-Christian background. So what's your next question, brother?
Okay, ask Mark about the Florida shooter. Where did he get? Oh wait, where to get real food that's not cloned, good water, etc. Food stamps being replaced with food boxes, etc. And what really? Wait, what
The
really
hell,
in the
dude, slow
American?
down here. Let's start asking me one question at a time. Okay, let's
I,
start with the Florida shooter. Let's go back. What was the question about the Florida shooter?
okay, ask Mark about the Florida shooting.
What does that mean?
Very vague
That's
and
all they
ambivalent.
said?
Yes.
Well, I think one thing I've already said about the Florida
Yeah, we
shooter is
already
most people
covered
don't
that.
even know
That's
there
why
was
I
a
said
girl
the
named
second
Alexa
line.
who
Oh.
claimed she walked down the hallway with him and she said to him when she saw him, she's like, "Oh, hell, I thought you'd be the one doing the shooting." And while she's having this conversation with him, she's hearing the shots being fired on the other side of the campus. So that's one thing we've already talked about.
All right. Where to
Second
get?
thing about the Florida shooting is, well, second thing about the Florida shooting, I think I've already mentioned was the fact that I said, what's going to be the outcome of this? You're going to have a saturation now of metal detectors and people armed in the schools that's going to be trained by the NRA and others. You're going to have folks pulling their children out of the so-called public government schools and putting them in the private charter school, which is going to be to the delight of Betty DuBois, who wants to privatize all public schools anyway. And most of the shootings happen in middle class, upper middle class white neighborhoods that don't have metal detectors. And now you're going to turn all these public schools and so-called safe, sweet, poly, purebred white neighborhoods into police states.
Right.
What's your next question, sir?
And where to get real food that is not cloned and good water.
All right. So, have you ever heard of a drug called heroin?
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
Well, who created heroin?
Um, back in the day, yeah, English alchemists.
Bear aspirin.
Bear aspirin?
Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't know that?
No.
And see, so this show tonight, I'm sure this show's going to go off the hook too because I've used a lot of expletive deleters, but more importantly, I'm sharing history, not his
Yes,
story.
Lord.
Bear Aspirin used to sell heroin over the counter in the United States.
Mm,
At the same time, Coca-Cola had cocaine and Coca-Cola.
For
mm.
pain.
Yeah.
So, Bear Aspirin's deep involved with the Nazi movement, Hitler. Kodak was deeply involved with the Nazi movement, Hitler. For many, 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 many. In fact, if you look at the symbol on the Bear Aspirin, Bear is spelled B-A-Y-E-R, up and across. And if you look at that symbol, it's got that same neo-Nazi white sovereign citizen symbol
Mm.
of that cross inside the circle.
Iron Cross.
So, no, not the Iron Cross. You got this cross, just a cross inside the circle. But anyway, so with Bear Aspirin, what Bear Aspirin did for many, 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 many years, they covered up Kodak's involvement with Nazi Germany. Kodak is what?
A photography place, film development,
Okay, so when you make photography, what do you need?
chemicals, and the black light.
There you go, chemicals, brah. You look at it as photography. We look at it as let's get rid of all the Jews.
Oh, God.
Chemicals. So anyway, Bear Aspirin for many years buried the patents of Kodak, and it wasn't until the 1990s that Bear allowed Kodak to reemerge as a sovereign corporation again.
Oh God.
As I'm speaking to you right now, the biggest merger in world history is going on between former Nazis, because right now they're back. The John Birch Society is back. The Nazis are running things like Le Pen, everybody around the country and around the world. Bayer Aspirin is now merging with whom? What corporation?
It's Monsanto.
There you go. This is why I talk to the brothers, because they know what's going on, even though they don't realize they know what's going on. I went on a Carl Nelson show about, this is like 2010, because the U.S. Congress, remember, Eisenhower didn't say the military-industrial complex. He said the military-industrial congressional complex.
Mm.
Do you know they were passing laws back in 2010 where you cannot even sue Monsanto?
Yes, I remember those.
But Monsanto can sue you if one of their GMO seeds go from one said farmer's land to another one.
Did I just ask you a yes or no? I just asked you a yes or no question.
Your turn.
Are you ever going to learn just to answer yes or no? So, now I just went to see Black Panther. All right? Now, when you look at Monsanto, people don't even know the chemicals that Monsanto is involved with. And now they have merged into the GMO crops and everything else. Now, do you brothers remember the movies The Omen?
Yeah. Damien?
Mm-hmm. Did you see the first Omen?
I see the first one. It's been years, though. It's been a long
time. Do you remember
time.
seeing second and third one?
No. I seen the first one.
Well, the reason I mentioned second and third one, because in second and third ones, they mentioned Thorn Enterprises. The second and third Omens came out and showed you back in the 70s and early 80s how one corporation was going to control all the food seeds around the world. They were going to cause famine, devastation, and then appear to come out of nowhere and donate their seeds to continents in Africa and other places so that now they can end up having food again. They showed you that in the Omen movies back in the 70s. Everything Monsanto is doing today, they showed you in Hollywood movies back in the 70s.
That's so fucking dumb.
And once they control the food, they control the planet. The only two things you need to control the planet, you can have all the weapons on the planet you want. But if I control the seeds and I control the water,
you're done.
Fresh, clean drinking water, you're going to come bowing to me. So you take companies like corporations like Nestle's that were buying up water rights in Africa back in the 90s when I was doing shows with Carl Nelson out here on Front Page. I say, hey, I ask you, when you hear the name Nestle's, what do you think of? Chocolate. That's not what I think of.
I
think of baby formula and buying up the water rights. Do you realize Johannesburg's about to run out of water?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't hear much about it in the news at all.
Not at all, unless you go to BBC.
So, I'm just saying to you, to answer the question about good food, that's hard because good, healthy food is expensive. The cheaper the food is, the more unhealthy it is.
Mm-hmm.
And most folks today can't afford good, healthy food. And you have to be careful. You can go into a health food store and buy toothpaste, and it still has fluoride on the label.
Mm-hmm.
You can go in a health food store and buy water, but it's still in a plastic bottle.
Getting PET.
And a lot of times they just take that water from the tap, put it in a plastic bottle, and sell it to you, and you spend $2 on a bottle of water that should be worth 25 cents.
Yep.
This pray they don't come from Flint.
Going back to Wyatt Earp and Tombstone, do you realize even in that movie they showed people with money buying bottled water? No. Bottled water is nothing new. But I was telling you earlier about Charlton Heston before when you distracted me, so I'll go back to that. In the movie Tombstone, Charlton Heston's only in the movie for like 45 seconds. Why? Who was Wyatt Earp? We talked about Quantrill and the boys. Guess who Wyatt Earp supported during the War of Northern Aggression?
No,
The
he
Civil
wasn't
War?
a Confederate.
The war between the states?
He was a rebel?
Brother, if you don't know, just say you don't know.
I don't know.
He supported abolition of slavery.
Oh, good.
So when you look at Tombstone and you see the cowboys wearing the red sashes because they represent the Confederates, like the Quantrill boys in Missouri, who still never got over the Civil War. That's why they hated Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp's family supported the Union and supported getting rid of slavery. The cowboys, who didn't recognize your local law, they created their own law. I think the John Birch Society, Tea Party Libertarians, who want to get rid of all local laws and create their own law, no rules, no regulations, they were guys who supported the South. They supported slavery. So there's a scene in the movie where all these guys are around the campfire, and what are all the Wyatt Earp boys wearing? Mason symbols around their neck. Whose house did they go to right after that campfire? Charlton Heston's house. Because Charlton Heston at the time was the highest ranking Mason in Hollywood. Ernest Borgnine took over later. But so I'm saying, I think today the guy who's Major John Birch Society member, who's the highest ranking, this will blow you away. Hollywood's running out of ideas. Do you know what remake of a movie they just coming out with now?
No, what was
the first movie that made Angelina Jolie famous?
Holy shit. Hackers?
I said the first time I saw her, even though she was still a teenager, but yeah. It was Hackers. In the movie Hackers, they still showed you back then how we have enough oil, but we take all these oil tankers, put them off the coast, and we wait till the price of oil goes up. Then we have computers direct those tanker ships to go to the shore and sell the oil at a higher price. But the next series of movies she came out with were, come on, Tomb Raider, man.
Yes, Tomb Raider.
Do you know Hollywood is so fucked up and lacking knowledge or originality? They are doing remakes of Tomb Raider.
This soon?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in Tomb Raider, Angelina Jolie, who's her dad in real life?
Don't know.
No, I don't know who the chick's dad is.
Dad in the movie, John Voight. He's a far right-wing Tea Party Libertarian supporter and a high-ranking Mason in Hollywood. There you go. So, what I'm just telling you is, there's a major war already going on in this community, and people don't realize it. When folks talk about the Russians, do you remember what movie Angelina Jolie played in where she was a Russian mole?
No.
Go back and watch the movie Salt, S-A-L-T. Russians have been in this country for years, and now you have folks like, oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to the shooting in Parkland, Florida. What's the guy's name?
What was that?
Was it Nicholas Cruz?
So the first day the media jumped on and said he was a Latino. He's not a Latino. That last name, Cruz, is an adopted last name. Who spells their name Nicholas, N-I-K?
German? Is it German?
Oh, former Soviet bloc countries.
Oh, shit.
Notice how nobody ever tells you where he's from, who's his mom. Now, they'll sit there and tell you that he was adopted at birth. Okay, if he was adopted at birth, then how is it that he and his brother both grew up in the same household when his brother was born 4 years after? Oh, by the way, if you don't know this, his brother has been taken into protective custody, even though it's against the law. But the mere fact that Nicholas supposedly committed this crime at the school, his brother has been put under 24-hour watch for mental health observation. Who are these boys? Where did they come from? And nobody asked that question. The same thing happened out here in L.A. when we had what was called a North Hollywood bank robbery.
Oh, yeah. Guys in body armor?
Nobody asked you. I'm sorry?
Were they the guys in body armor
What was that?
at the North Hollywood bank robbery?
Right. But where did they come from?
Don't know.
Yeah, well, I will tell you this. Full disclosure. I've had many aliases, but damn. Even I, at the age of at the age of 14, didn't already have 7 aliases. And you know those 2 white boys had all kinds of LAPD badges and LAPD uniforms and hats at their homes? You know those 2 boys in that shootout with LAPD, all the guns they had in possession had been taken from them by police departments earlier and given back to them?
No way.
Yeah, you all check that one out. By the way, I should tell you how I was personally involved with that. I was on the gun range shooting with LAPD SWAT and... what the hell? Let me see. Let me take another swig here before I tell you this.
Yes.
Blame it on the booze.
Swig it up. Take one with you.
That Friday morning, range shooting with LAPD SWAT and LAPD SIS. Ever heard of LAPD SIS?
Never have.
You got some homework to do. So anyway, I go back up into the office and I'm like watching TV at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I see this hellacious thing going on at this bank out in North Hollywood. I'm like, what the hell? So you got this white woman from Channel 2, CBS, KCBS News, Ann Martin, because I don't give a shit right now. Wait a minute, hang on. Let me take another swig. I'll tell you this because I don't give a shit. So you got Ann Martin from KCBS Channel 2 News.
Uh-huh.
And she's doing this broadcast about this bank robbery going on in North Hollywood. So I called downtown to Parker Center, and I said, hey, TV photo, do me a favor. Put in a tape, start taping Channel 2 News. I'm going to head down to Parker Center, because by the time I get down there, it'll probably be over. But I want you guys to tape this, so I'm going to use it to train my recruits at the academy.
Uh-huh.
Of course, later on, what does Ann Martin say? What Ann Martin say? Ann Martin goes, the suspects are male black gang members. And then she goes, oh, wait a minute. The suspects are white, dressed in black. Oh, they couldn't be gang members.
They can't be gang members.
Yeah, did you hear what I just said?
Yeah.
If they're white, they couldn't be gang members. So after that, what they did was they took Ann Martin off the air, and they go, Ann Martin has to handle some personal things, and somebody else, and so they brought somebody else in because she didn't even realize what she had just said and showed her racism.
Yes, she did.
First, she said they were black gang members. Then she said they were whites dressed in black, so if they were white, then they couldn't be gang members. See, that tells you the mindset of the people who are running the news in this country.
Yes.
All right? Now, Ann Martin was one of the top news reporters in L.A. on KCBS at the time. Anyway, so I digress. So I get in a police car, and I had a black and white at the time up at the academy. So I start driving to Parker Center because I'm going to pick up the video to come back and use to teach my recruits. I never made it to Parker Center. You know why? As I'm driving on the 110 freeway, and I get to the 101 freeway, I see all these LAPD SWAT vehicles stuck in traffic. Now, have you guys ever heard the rap song, The Battle Ram? The Battle Ram? No, huh? Must be a regional thing.
Yeah,
probably.
Well, in L.A., we had this military vehicle that LAPD had confiscated somehow and got from the military, because, they're militarizing the military. They keep talking about how we're militarizing the police departments. That's been going on for years. So anyway, LAPD had this military vehicle, and they put this long steel pole on the front.
Yes.
And they would actually put a hole in a drug dealer's house and go in. Never mind, to kill the people inside. But yeah, it was called the Battle. There's a rap song called The Battle Ram. I'm not making this up. So now you guys got homework. Daryl Gates, LAPD, Battle Ram. Well, the Battle Ram vehicle, because of ACLU lawsuits, and LAPD SWAT used to use it for special assignments. So what ended up happening was the LAPD SWAT back in those days didn't have black and white patrol vehicles with the light bars on the outside. They only had black and white patrol vehicles with the red light on the dashboard. It's rush hour traffic, 9 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's moving out of their way. Most of the guys had what we called unmarked cars.
Mm-hmm.
So I took my police black and white vehicle. I got off the 110 freeway, got on the 101 freeway, and I am the person who escorted LAPD SWAT along with the Batarang to the North Hollywood shooting. Now, mind you, anybody who even took a piss nearby that was LAPD got accommodation. You won't see my name on anything because they didn't like the fact that I was there. By the way, Willie Williams was the chief at the time. Willie Williams saw me and he goes, "You do whatever you want, you go wherever you want." And dude, I drew illustrations and stuff, and I saw things that you'll never hear about because they made a movie about it too. There's actually a Bank of America movie. They actually have an FBI course in Quantico, Virginia, and it's all bullshit, dude. What I see and what I know and what you were told that day ain't exactly the same thing.
Right. So what was different?
This to you because those two guys involved with the North Hollywood shooting have very interesting backgrounds. Soviet bloc countries. One of them had 7 aliases before he was the age of 14. They had all kinds of police badges and guns and badges and uniforms at home, and more importantly, their weapons had been confiscated from them before that shooting, and yet the police department gave them their weapons back.
Yeah, that's irresponsible.
Then you fast forward to now 2018. Here's a guy who police have gone to his house more than 39 times. His name has been given to the FBI, and yet he was still able to buy an AR-15. And a white girl is walking down the hall with him as he's walking out to school like he's just Joe Blow. Doesn't have a gun with him. And she's like saying, hell, as soon as I heard this shooting going on, I thought you'd be the one doing this. And she's hearing the shooting going on while he's walking out to school with her. And then he goes to a mall, goes to McDonald's, and then sits on a park bench, bus park bench, like, just another day. It's just another day. Does that make any logical sense?
No. This is like some Alex Jones type shit. Fake shootings.
Really sad. I am not a fan of Alex Jones, and I know he's a John Birch Society swill, and he has to wipe the smegma off his lips of Donald Trump. But I'm going to tell you something. Alex Jones is one of the only people in this country who even talked about that female Alexa who told that story. I haven't heard it anywhere else in the U.S. except Alex Jones. Now, I go outside the U.S., which I do, of course, because I have contacts around the world. But Alex Jones is the only person in the U.S. who's even told that story about the girl walking down the hall with the shooter while the shooting's going on.
Wow. Well, every squirrel, every blind squirrel gets a nut from time to time.
Well, I seen videos.
Broken clock is right twice a day.
I seen videos where it was not only students but parents saying that they had received notification that they were going to be doing active shooter drills in the schools the day of the shooting.
And I don't mean to cut you off, brother, but earlier they had been a shooting drill at that school, and that shooting drill at that school did not involve local cops, but instead feds. Why would feds be at a local high school performing a shooting drill?
I don't know why they would perform one in the school period, not during a normal class day.
Could be same reason
that
why
class day,
9/11
they had already had a firearm drill, and that's why some of the students were slow to respond, because they're like, wait a minute, we just had a fire drill. We're having another one, but no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, federal agents performed a shooting drill at that school prior to this incident. And I don't know of any federal agency doing a shooting drill at a local school.
Right.
That would be your local police department.
Right.
Next question, sir.
Okay, the next one is...
Who does my hair?
No.
Sorry.
This one is from Gloria Lawrence. She wants to know...
Ooh, she gave her... Hey, wait a minute. I'm sorry. She gave her a full name? Gloria...
Lawrence.
Warren.
It's
How do you spell her last name?
Lawrence.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Gloria. Yes, sir.
She wants to know the future of Amazon because they're so huge, and should we be worried?
Yeah. All right. So the way things are going is this. Now I know my time is running out. I'm talking to you on a dial-up phone.
That's why the
That's why
signal's
you haven't
good.
said one. That's why you haven't said one time tonight. Can you please talk closer to the phone, or will you
Right.
please stop moving around? Because see, when you have a cell phone or whatever they call it today, low jack, high jack, cold jack, smartphone, iPad, whatever, you lose your signals. So when I get disconnected with you, I know somebody is in your neighborhood messing around because I'm on a dial-up. By the way, that's why I've never seen any of those YouTubes with you, because if I go on YouTube on dial-up, after 5 seconds it shuts me down. But anyway, and since you're in Tornado
Alley.
Tornado Alley, I ask you this question. You're in Tornado Alley. What state west of Missouri has more tornadoes than any other state in the country?
Kansas.
Or west of the Rockies, I should say.
Oklahoma. You said west of Missouri?
I would
West
say
of the Rockies.
Kansas. Oh, west of Rockies.
West of the Rockies.
Mm.
That would be
California.
Yeah.
And most people don't even know that California. The great thing is they usually occur over the ocean. We call them typhoons or whatever.
Water sprites.
And so they don't usually touch land. But no, California is number one for west of the Rockies for tornado. Anyway, I digress. But Amazon is basically going to control everything. You realize the guy from Amazon is now the richest guy on the planet, right?
Yep.
Mm.
Meanwhile, his workers are getting screwed every day, right?
Yes, sir.
Because, see, cocaine is addictive. Sex is addictive.
Money.
But gambling and the love of money seem to be far more addictive than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
These folks can never get enough. As they say, greed is good. And this guy, he's already earlier you asked about the healthy food. He's buying up the healthy food stores.
Yep.
Now, I go to a store, and when I go to these stores like Kmart or whatever now, I go to Target. You know what Target is, right?
Target?
Target.
Yeah.
Right. So, because Kmart's about all gone. So anyway, I go to Target, and they now have these self-checkout lines. Another way to eliminate an employee. Mm-hmm. Instead of standing in line where you have a human running up your bill, you do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Barcode, right? Well, let me just tell you 2 stories about barcodes. I was in L.A. Parker Center is no longer the headquarters for LAPD, and it's going to be torn down soon. But I was in L.A. at the Civic Center across the street. They have a mall, City Hall Mall. And I went to buy an Ebony magazine. Well, my thing is I always buy 2 copies of the same magazine. One I keep for myself. The other one I tear it up. And if I want to use articles to refer to certain research, I do that. So I bought 2 copies of Ebony magazine. I walk up to the counter. The person at the counter scans the barcode and says, that'll be $7. And I said, no. And they looked at me like I'm a troublemaker already. I'm like, sir, that'll be $7. No, that'll be $3. So now people standing in line behind me like, what the fuck's wrong with this nigger? And I looked at her and I go, look at the damn cover. 1 copy, $1.50. 2 copies, $3. And she didn't know what to do because the copy of the magazine specifically stated $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
But when she scanned it, guess what it told me to pay? $7. So now everybody's in line going, oh, damn. So I ended up coming out there paying $3 when I could have paid $7 if I hadn't been paying attention.
Right.
And I wonder how many people would go to these self-serve registers and just scan it. Let me tell you another story. When my second child was born, I tried not to do the baby formula thing, but we end up having to do baby formula sometimes for supplements. So I go to Albertsons. That's a big chain out here. I went into Albertsons. I was going to buy a couple cans of formula, but instead of having just the cans at the bottom of the shelf, guess what they had? An entire box with 24 cans in it. So I'm like, what the hell? Because I don't want to come back here 2 days from now. So I bought a box of baby formula at the register. And she scanned the box. And I walk out the store kind of confused, right? So I get to my vehicle. I'm like, damn, something's not right here. Well, guess what? The barcode on the box was the same exact barcode on the can. She charged me 24 cans of baby formula, the price of one.
Yep. It makes mistakes.
I felt badly, and I wanted to go back inside and tell her, guess what? I couldn't do it. You know why?
The price.
If I went back inside and showed her, she charged me the price of 24 cans for just one, she would have lost her job.
Yeah.
So I ended up going home with 24 cans of baby formula, and I only paid the price of one because they didn't even realize the barcode on the can was the same exact barcode on the box. So what I'm just saying to you, for all you folks out there listening to me that scan your own stuff instead of letting some human being do it and you can check. Because let me tell you something that just happened to me recently. I went to a store where I went to a supermarket where if you buy one bottle of soft drink, the liter bottle, it was like $1.69. But if you bought 4 of them, you could buy it for the price of $5. So of course I bought 4 of them. But she was charging me $1.69 for each one of them. I said, no, you have a sale going on. Well, if I had done that on the scanner, it would just charge me the $1.69. Being that I was talking to a human being, she's like, oh my God, you're right. And she went back in and corrected it. So with Amazon, you're going to now have your food delivered to you, no human beings involved. Everything's going to be done by computer, and they're going to be ripping you off left and right. And you won't even be able to talk to a human being complain when something's not correct or accurate.
Well, they already opened their first humanless store in Washington State. Amazon has.
Yeah, it's always the progressive states that stuff happens in, because progressives are idiots. Yeah, seriously, progressives are idiots. They're too busy hugging trees and don't realize when they think they're fighting the system, they're doing exactly what the system wants them to do.
Exactly. They're the boogeymans for the system to make everyone else get in line.
Say something else about progressives. Progressives are a lot closer to Tea Party libertarians than they will ever admit it, because guess what they have in common? They hate the federal government.
What is all this hate over the federal government? Is it just because they released the Negras?
No, come on, brother. They don't like rules and regulations. What do the progressives? They're a bunch of fucking hippies that want to get high, smoke their dope.
Right.
So they get their marijuana laws passed. Down in the South, you got the rednecks that want to run their moonshine. They don't want to be paying no taxes to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
God.
No, I'm serious. So when you really look at what's going on with the Tea Party, Republican Party, and the progressives are taking over the Democratic Party. And the two things they have in common, they don't like rules and regulations, and they have direct ties and manipulation and control by guess what organization?
John Birch Society.
There you go. And you won't hear Tom Hartman mention them once. You won't hear Nicole Sandler, who, by the way, I talk about all these Russians and Soviet bloc countries. I want to know where this Nicholas guy is from, because when I look at him and I look at photographs of him, he bears a symbol and symptoms of being a fetal alcohol syndrome baby. Who is this guy and his brother, and where did they come from? I guarantee you, Well, let me rephrase that. If I was a betting man, they're either from Russia or a Soviet bloc country. You look at those boys in the Bank of America North Hollywood shooting, from Russia, Soviet bloc country. And there's one other I haven't mentioned. Let's go back to the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Where they from?
Don't know.
Where they from?
I want to say somewhere
Take a guess after everything I just said.
Russia?
like Yugoslavia or
And
something.
no, it gets better than that. Russia warned the United States intelligence community about those guys before that ever happened.
Wow. Wow.
Now you're being told the FBI was warned about this guy in Florida before it ever happened.
It's not like they don't know. They know when this stuff finna go down.
But it's all according to the plan. The system wants this to happen to get everyone excited.
Very little in U.S. politics happens by accident. And that's why I'm doing this show with you, because I don't know how much longer they're going to allow us to come together on a show like this. So I have to get it out there now. I'm just telling you.
Right.
And I will never lie to your listeners. So when you go back and watch the movie with Angelina Jolie, Salt, or go back and watch the movie with Sidney Poitier called Little Nikita, you'll get a better idea of what I'm talking about.
All right. You ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
This is from the Clarius 7979. He wants to know about SpaceX.
I'm sorry?
The Clarius 7979. He wants to know about SpaceX.
Is he talking about like Futurama?
Oh, that's all he said was.
Are you guys even familiar with Futurama?
I've watched almost every episode with my daughter.
Do you see the woman with the one eyeball in her forehead?
Yeah.
Do you know who that is?
That's the chick that played the mom on. I know the voice is the chick that played the mom from Married with Children. Yeah.
You know, you're starting to scare me, right? You're the first person I've talked to in about 20 years that really know what I'm talking about. This is why you guys are a threat. They're gonna wipe your asses out. No, seriously, Futurama is the bomb.
Oh, that show's crazy.
I should go out and see if I can buy those videos, because everything in Futurama, it's already happening.
Yep.
And as far as SpaceX, this is how it works, okay? You use taxpayers' money to do all the research and development. Once you perfect it, you privatize it. Mm-hmm. That way you get all the profits.
Yes.
Now, I asked you the last time I was on. I guarantee you none of you done it, because I know already. But I'm going to ask you again. Have any of you seen the movie Contact?
No, I haven't. No.
And I asked you this last time. I told you last time to see Contact. It's been a month.
You tell us a lot of stuff to watch.
Well, guess what? Then you got homework. So if you look at the movie Contact, the government was in charge of the space program. That was sabotaged by evangelical right-wing Christian lunatics. And when they went into space, it was done by a private corporation out of Japan. The NASA program is under federal rules and regulations. Mm-hmm. These folks don't like federal rules and regulations.
Right.
So they privatize it, and they do programs under SpaceX and others where you don't know what they're doing. And they still use the Air Force. You know, Vandenberg just did a launch in the last 36 hours. I used to hide out at Vandenberg when I used to have these death threats against me and stuff. Vandenberg was one of my hideouts. But, of course, back in the World War II days, Vandenberg was Camp Cook, and that was a POW camp for German POWs.
So I'm hearing this is just
we had 7 prominent German POW camps in the U.S. back in those days. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, the next question is from Walter Zuber. The Amtrak crash that involved Republicans from Congress.
Yeah, you guys are trying to get my ass killed. All right, let's stop there, okay?
These your fans, man.
What I will tell, Just stop right there. You don't have to go any further. This for your listeners. When Bill Clinton was in the White House, the same folks that are now reemerging, guys like Alex Jones and them, they made their claim because they were the same folks who attacked Clinton, accused them of killing Vince Foster and all this other stuff. They're back. Bigger, stronger, powerful, more listeners, people with short memories. You had a group that came out when Bill Clinton was president.
Mm-hmm.
And they go by the term SOG. Ever heard of it?
No.
I know. I'm being rhetorical here. Sons of Gestapo.
They had a train
Sons of Gestapo bragged about some of the major train derailments.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 1990s when they were trying to bring Clinton down. They were involved. They had ties to the Oklahoma City bombing and a whole bunch of other stuff involving the militias, state militias that were far right wing that hate the federal government.
Right.
And so for your listeners out there, I strongly suggest they research Sons of Gestapo. And if you want to Google it, just put Sons of Gestapo train derailment. As far as that derailment with the Republicans, I see that as a warning to certain folks that were going to that conclave with the Republicans and Donald Trump.
Okay. All right. And okay, so this question is from Julian Hornsby.
But you're going to say Assange.
No. No. This person wants to know, can you expand more on net neutrality? What's the real reason it was done, and what can we expect from it?
Right. The reason I'm doing this show tonight is because I know our time is running out. And with net neutrality, you got two things going on. One, I have dial-up. If you think my access to the internet is slow now, and I already told you I don't even know anything about your shows in the past because I can't even access YouTube. I go on YouTube after 5 seconds, it shuts me down.
Right.
Well, under net neutrality, I can Google. Well, two things happen when it comes to Googling on the, and I don't like to use that term. Let me just put it as a web search. When you do a web search on the internet, most folks don't know this, but based on your previous history of your web searches, that's what's going to come up first.
Right.
And that's why so many folks in this country don't have a clue to what's going on, because based on their empathy bias, prejudices, personal experiences, they have already accessed certain websites. And so if tomorrow morning I was to say to you, Mark from Anaheim is a murderer, depending on who did the web search, based on their previous web search, you might find out the number one website that you should be seeing is saying this was all fake news provided by folks who wanted to take Mark from Anaheim down. Well, you may not get that, because instead you're going to be bombarded with the websites by Alex Jones and others who might hate Mark from Anaheim. So that's the kind of thing that's going on already. In fact, and this is why the same thing happened with the so-called elections. You had Russian bots posting fake news stories on Facebook, for example. Well, based on your web search, certain people were targeted with fake news headlines, because they already have a profile, and you go, well, this is the kind of person who either hates Obama or likes Obama or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the second thing is, driving on a freeway, you have the three primarily lanes, and then you have a so-called carpool lane. Now, even though it should be against the law, many private corporations are charging you to pay extra money to drive in the carpool lane.
Right.
Fast track lane.
Right.
Even though your taxpayers' money built the freeway and built the carpool lane. Well, the same thing's going to happen on the internet. Unless you have the money, and when I say they, okay, this is right now these guys with the other morning show. They are starting off on a shoestring budget, etc. But the information I'm sharing, and I'm not trying to be putting myself on some damn pedestal. I'm just saying I won't lie to you. And what I'm sharing tonight is what folks need to hear. Well, you're not going to be able to hear what the other morning show is saying if they don't have the money to pay internet providers to put them in the fast lane. So what's going to happen in the future? And it's coming.
We slow as hell.
You want to? I've been telling you tonight to Google this, Google that, do a web search, whatever. You do a web search based on who has the money to pay. That's whose website's going to come up first in your web search. So you may have very wealthy corporate fascist neo-Nazi bastards that have the money to pay for it. Well, most folks are not going to go to Mark from Anaheim, for example, and wait 5 minutes for my information to upload.
Right.
Because most people today are very impatient. What they're going to do instead is go to
Fox News.
I hate Mark from Anaheim, whose site's going to load up in 30 seconds, and they're going to get of what they perhaps should be getting.
Wow.
So I hope that helps. What I will say right now is many states are fighting this with counter lawsuits. The problem is the internet comes under the FCC, which goes back to federal law. See, Donald Trump and the boys have no problem using federal law when they want to enforce immigration law. They don't want you to be able to stop local cops from becoming federalized police.
Right.
But they have no problem when federal law supports their corporate fascist buddies to tell you your individual state cannot fight net neutrality because it comes under the FCC. Now, of course, they don't tell you this when they go, your local state should not be enforcing immigration law because it comes under federal INS laws.
Right.
But that's what's going on. So with net neutrality, I'm waiting anxiously to see what's going to happen in the lower courts. What I will say, unfortunately, though, is Donald Trump has done a good job thanks to Scalia being murdered at a Bohemian Grove ranch down in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And the Republican John Birch Society dominated folks blocking Obama from appointing any federal judges. Donald Trump has done a good job of appointing the judges that are more likely to be favorable to the corporate fascists. And right now, even though I'm hoping and wishing, I give the net neutrality lawsuits to bring back net neutrality probably a 40-60 chance of being successful. Wow. And if I'm accurate in what I'm saying, we're going to lose net neutrality, and pretty soon you won't be hearing from me and a whole lot of other people on the internet.
Yep, I believe that 100%. Next question. This is from Arius Queen.
Well, hang on. I'm sorry. Whoa. What time do we go on the air?
Oh, 6 o'clock Central Time.
And what time is it Central Time now?
8:30.
But you said 1 hour.
We might have said that.
That was between.
Hey, bro, I don't give it. Hey, I'm just messing with you, man. Go ahead. What's the next question?
I already know whenever it say an hour, I mean add on a couple of more. No, but this is from Arius Queens. She wants to know what is in Antarctica and why people can't explore it. I have my own thoughts about that.
All right. I just posted about Antarctica. First of all, every country in the world that has atom bombs and the capability for atom bombs, they claim territories in Antarctica.
Right.
And the U.S. has a base there. I'll just say this: it starts with a M, M-U-R, and most folks don't even. In fact, I just posted a thing last night, and I said, you know, the U.S. Coast Guard only has 2 icebreakers that can even penetrate the ice to get us to our
Base.
scientific exploration site in Antarctica. One is in dire need of repairs, and they've already been mothballed. And the second one, the crew spends their own money and often has to go on eBay to find replacement parts. So right now, the Coast Guard doesn't even have adequate funding or a reliable, because the other ship that still exists is breaking down all the time, to break the ice to get to this station in Antarctica. So I said, if you want to make America great again, America will not be great again until the U.S. Coast Guard receives adequate funding. Meanwhile, everybody who's been indicted, should they be convicted from the Trump administration, they should be sent to prison at this Antarctica science station. So now you guys got some more homework, because I just told y'all about an Antarctica scientific station. I didn't give you the name of it, but I told you it starts with an M-U-R. So what I was going to say to you is this. I can't adequately answer that question because I don't have access to the information. But there are things going on in Antarctica under the ice, including the possibility of finding Noah's Ark and other things. And every country that has the capability of nuclear weapons have been rushing. In fact, I should say this too. That U.S. base that I just alluded to, New Zealand considers that their territory. So even though it's a U.S. base, New Zealand recognizes that they claim that territory. So there's a whole lot of folks, including Russia, that have territories all around Antarctica. Oil is being found there. History from the past, like I said, technology. I truly believe that mankind has been here before.
Pyramids.
Destroyed this planet. Well, a lot of that's frozen under the ice. With the so-called global warming or climate change, whatever you want to call it, the ice is melting in Antarctica, more so in Arctic. And because I don't have personal knowledge from people who've been there, but I've done a lot of research on that. And it's so ironic that less than 24 hours ago, I just actually posted something about Antarctica. What I could say to you is this. Do some research on the ASF, American Scientists Foundation, but just Google U.S. Scientific Station Antarctica, or Google U.S. Coast Guard icebreakers. Because right now, there is a lot going on that we're not hearing about. And a lot of it has to do with what they're discovering in those ice patches that's giving insights into the history of this planet that most of us have been lied to in history books and science books.
And also, don't forget, New Zealand's where all the globalists are going to build their bomb shelters. So for that country to say that our base is part of their country.
Well, wait, brother. Let's go back and see. You say stuff, but you may assume that everybody else knows what you're talking about. New Zealand is not where everybody is going. What I will say to you is this. I've been telling folks now since the day that Trayvon Martin got killed, we've been heading for a civil war and a world war. Many of the wealthy folks in this country, the wealthiest in this country, have been buying property in New Zealand because they see a civil war coming here. And that's what the brother's alluding to. New Zealand, if you don't have a history of this, New Zealand, I said earlier that Carl Nelson was the first journalist to interview Nelson Mandela when he was released from prison in South Africa. When Nelson Mandela was released from prison and certain deals were made with the white Afrikaners, with the ANC, the hardcore Afrikaners who were not going to stay in South Africa under no bloody cafe nigger rule. The number one place they moved to, guess where it was?
New Zealand.
There you go. And where was number 2?
Right, Australia.
Orange County, California.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, God, yeah. That's what I deal with all the time. Because I got these white Afrikaners down here in Orange County, and they've been homeschooling their children to keep them away from the bloody kephas and the wetbacks.
Remember that?
And then I got me on the beach down there, and their children are all in love with me, and they're like, what do we do now?
That one movie.
We can't come out and tell our children how much of a racist we are, and our children love this guy on the beach. What do we do?
Lethal Weapon 3. Lethal Weapon 3. Wasn't that based in...
hang on. So when you go back, and we'll come back to that. So when we go back and you look at what's going on in Irvine, where this guy named Larry Ford was developing ethno-specific drugs to kill blacks in Africa.
AIDS.
And he was a prominent professor at the UC Irvine. All right? And then you look in Laguna Beach, where 5 years ago they had a Martin Luther King sale. They made that a black sale. Everything in the surf shop was black. That was the Thalia, Thalia surf shop in Laguna Beach. Everything black in their surf shop was for sale, and what they did was they took Martin Luther King's head, cropped it on the body of some white surfer in a black wetsuit, and that was their way of showing how they supported King Day.
Oh, God.
You look at UC Irvine, where during Black History Month, UC Irvine, a California State University, to celebrate Black History Month, served fried chicken and watermelon in their cafeteria.
I remember hearing about that.
Okay, so when you look at New Zealand was the #1 spot for the hardcore Afrikaners. Orange County, California, South Orange County, you're talking about Dana Point, Irvine, Laguna Niguel, Laguna Beach, Laguna Woods.
Read that one next.
Oh, yeah. And they got some serious money. Newport Beach, too, by the way.
Well, Huntington Beach
they
ain't
have
too
these
poor.
major homes on the bluffs, and they got their money from the Cougarons. So now I'm going to answer your question before you ask the question. In the second Lethal Weapon, you have the Cougarons, the Bloody Kephas, the Afrikaners, not Lethal Weapon 3, as you said, but Lethal Weapon 2. I'll just say this. That movie was so close to reality. There was a trial going on in Chicago at the time, and the jury was sequestered so they would not see that movie.
Wow. Well, that movie was fucked up. You know, it had diplomatic
The movie
immunity.
was very accurate. But all the Lethal Weapon movies I can tell you about. In fact, I'll just tell you this. When they did Lethal Weapon 4 with Jet Li, the restaurant where they filmed that movie suddenly got burned down. That was one of my favorite restaurants in Chinatown.
It got burned down?
I guess somebody got pissed off that they allowed that movie they allowed that restaurant to be used. It was really sad because when the 1992 riots happened, civil unrest, whatever people want to call it, a lot of folks didn't go out to eat. So a lot of places, they ended up closing down, went out of business. So my all-time favorite Chinese restaurant, what I used to go to, they were barely able to hang on and survive, but unfortunately they allowed their restaurant to be used as part of the movie set for Lethal Weapon 4. And they mysteriously had a fire after that movie came out.
Well, hopefully old boy had insurance.
There were things in that movie that certain folks, especially with the triad, did not want folks to see.
Oh. Well.
You ready for the next one?
Yeah, I took another swig. Go ahead.
Okay. This one's from Damon Smith. He wants to know, how effective has Cecil Rhodes' ideas empower white supremacy?
All right, don't even go any further. All right, so I just told you about New Zealand, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I just told you about Carl Nelson and Nelson Mandela, right?
Right.
So a couple of years ago, you had some so-called white doctor in the U.S. that caught a lot of heat because he killed a lion over in the continent of Africa. Remember that?
Yes. Cecil the Lion.
What was the lion? What was the lion's name?
I thought it was Cecil.
It was Cecil, the name of the lion.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. What was the lion's name?
Cecil the lion.
And who did you just ask me about?
Cecil Rhodes.
Oh gosh.
So when that whole lion thing happened, I go, you folks don't even realize how you're being manipulated. And I have no sympathy for a lion named after Cecil Rhodes. So let me just tell you about Cecil Rhodes. I live out here in Southern California. In LA County, in the areas of Claremont and Montclair, every Rhodes Scholar selected in the U.S. is selected at the Claremont colleges in Claremont and Montclair, California.
Mm-hmm.
What did I say? What kind of scholarship?
Rhodes Scholarship.
And who do you think that's named after?
Hemingway?
That's probably.
I just said
Cecil
Rhodes
Rhodes.
Scholarship.
Yeah, Cecil
Rhodes.
Rhodes. Oh gosh.
What president have we had in recent years that was a Rhodes Scholar?
Wasn't it Clinton?
There you go. So, under the Clinton administration, I turned down the opportunity for both the White House Fellowship and a Fulbright Scholarship. During the Clinton years, 1994 to be exact, June 12th, who was charged with murdering his wife and some Jewish guy living in a house out back?
O.J. Simpson.
June 12th, 1994, right? You know,
Right.
June 12th, take those numbers, add them up, you come up to number 32, which is his football jersey.
Oh shit! And then Juneteenth.
When, unlike here in the United States, in Great Britain, if you are found not guilty of a crime, and then somebody goes in the public media and still says you're guilty, guess what happens to that person?
Slander.
There you go. So, let me ask you a question, guys. When O.J. Simpson was found not guilty, where was the first and only place he spoke in public?
What did he say? I didn't quite hear him.
Where did he speak at after he was O.J. Simpson? After he was exonerated on that trial, where did he first speak at? I can't remember.
No.
He went to Oxford University and spoke to Rhodes Scholars.
Oh, God.
And nobody talks about that. And I challenge anybody to come on this show and say I'm lying to you. O.J. Simpson spoke at Oxford University to Rhodes Scholars after he was found not guilty.
And we all know Oxford University.
I'm sorry, have you ever been invited to Oxford University?
It's the top one.
And now, even though I was a member of many globalist organizations, I've never been invited to Oxford University. O.J. Simpson was invited and spoke to Oxford University after he was found not guilty. And you don't hear nobody talk about it. So what I'm just telling you about Cecil Rhodes. Back in the 70s, I was being recruited as a mercenary. Today they call them private contractors.
Right.
To go fight in Zimbabwe. Well, back then it wasn't called Zimbabwe, it was called Rhodesia.
Yes.
The things that the British have done around the world under the Lloyds of London, British East India Trade Company, I strongly recommend the folks do research on two subjects. B as in boy, O-E-R. The Boer Wars. You had two of them. Boer War One and Boer War Two. Because this is information that's pertinent to the question, and it will give you an idea of how certain countries were fighting already, and how the Zulu tribe was decimated. When I was a Marine Corps officer going through infantry officer course, one of the typical propaganda movies they showed was a movie called Shaka Zulu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I could tell they were used to showing that movie because everybody in infantry school was white. They didn't know how to handle it. When I stood up in the room, I go, fuck you and your bullshit Eurocentric movie.
Yes.
Because they love the movie Shaka Zulu.
Because they all get killed
Because
at
it
the end.
shows how a very small number of British soldiers with superior firepower
Yes.
were able to wipe out all these niggers who were only armed with spears and shields.
It's like the Alamo.
I will
2.0.
say this: there are some historical inaccuracies in the movie, but for the most part, the movie is historically accurate. And if you haven't seen the movie, sue the movie Shaka Zulu, but do some research on Boer War, BOER, Boer War One, Boer War Two. Cecil Rhodes may be dead, but you don't occupy a country for so many years and then suddenly give them their freedom without giving them the tools and the skills to survive. And right now over in South Africa, and I have to be careful how I answer this because being in the surfing community, there are certain surfers from South Africa that are probably listening to this show. You have no idea who's listening to this show right now. And I'll just say this. You may have blacks that are in positions of power publicly in South Africa, but there's still a lot of white money telling them how to run things.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know I upset Carl and other folks here in L.A. when Nelson Mandela was free, but I just said to them, let me make this simple for you. You don't spend 20-plus years in prison and go from prison to president without having sold your soul and compromised.
Exactly, man.
And one of the first things Nelson Mandela did when he got out of prison, who stood by him the whole time he was in prison?
His wife. He dumped her like a bad fucking habit.
Who did he fuck over when he got out?
Her.
There you go.
He fucked over his
let's
woman.
move on.
Okay. Okay, the next question is from Kiki, a.k.a. Cook County. She sent in 3 questions, but I'm just only going to give you one. Huh?
Hang on. Whoa. Slow down, brother. God dang, man. Now, you said Kiki from Cook County.
Yes.
What do you know about Cook County?
I'm not from California.
How do you know it's Cook County in California? It could be Cook County in Illinois.
I don't know.
Cook County in Las Vegas.
Cook County is Illinois. That's Chicago, brother.
Yeah. Corruption.
There you go.
Stop. Where's the only place that Martin Luther King never finished the march and got his ass kicked?
Cicero, Illinois.
And that's in Cook County.
Yes, sir.
So now that you said that, and I said that, Cook County, let's go ahead with Kiki. What is his question?
Let me see which one is this one. It's a. Hold on.
But that last show was scandalous. Wait till people go back and listen to this show.
It says, here's one of the questions they sent in. It says, I'm entering back into school to attain a medical degree. Do you think this is wise of me and others to do so since we are on the verge of World War III, economic crisis, and a civil war? Should we wait until this is over? I ask because it's a lot of us black professionals who are trying to ascend in this country.
I commend anybody going into the medical field, but just remember you're being trained by Western doctors, and that's Western medicine. And that's why I like that movie Black Panthers, because they showed homeopathic medicine.
Yes.
Talk to anybody who's been trained in Western medicine out here, and you talked earlier about the question about fresh food, safe water, right?
Right.
What's the number one most important thing when it comes to our survival?
Water.
Nutrition.
Oh, yeah.
Nutrition, water, fresh food, right?
Right.
What I challenge any of you to do later on after this conversation tonight, and for the listeners out there, ask your physician how much education did they receive in their Western medical doctor colleges and universities on nutrition.
0. Zero.
Well, most of them get like maybe 1 or 2 hours of it. That's it. They don't even study nutrition. That's Western medicine. But for you, Kiki, go out there, get that degree, because just like Charles Drew, had Charles Drew not gone to these Western medical schools, he would have never come up with the transfusion process. And look how many people's lives have been saved today because of blood transfusion.
Well, everyone except for Jehovah's
You will never hear me tell folks not to go in the U.S. Armed Forces, not to go in law enforcement, not to go in the military, not to go into medical, because if we don't have folks who look at us as we out there, who are actually the ones many times that are coming up with new ideas, new solutions, and how to save this planet. I'll say this again, okay? Women are going to save mankind from himself. That's why I love that movie, because you talk all you want about Black Panther, but if those women hadn't come together to fight,
he would have made it.
The outcome would have been different. 2, the fate of the continent of Africa will decide the fate of this planet. And they show that in the movie too. And for those who haven't seen the movie yet, or for those of you who did see the movie and walked out during the credits, never walk out during the credits, because there were things shown at the very end of that movie that most folks never saw because they were so quick to get out the door. And there's some very significant things that were shown after all the credits were gone that you need to see.
Well, watch the credits when you watch that movie.
Watch Black Panther, folks.
You ready for the next one?
I watch that movie. That movie wants to cause black people to go out there now and become rioters. You know, I ain't heard one conservative media outlet yet. Even Michael Medved, who said he liked the movie, would only give it 2.5 stars because he said that they were overinflated on what they're going to do. Let me just tell you, folks, what's going to happen, okay? Black Panther is the best movie I've seen. Well, the best movie I'd seen since Hell or High Water was American Made. Has replaced that American Made. Problem is this. American Made stands no chance of getting Academy Awards because it's got the Weinstein stain on it. Cleaned up at the Academy Awards, unlike what Michael Medved said. Next question, sir.
Okay, this one is from Platino Rico 86. He sent in a few questions. I'm gonna try to break it up and just to narrow down to one because we still got like 3 more. So this guy wanted to know, did Kennedy really die in Dallas, or was it his double, J.D. Tippett? And it also says, Dick Gregory said, if I died in 1971 on a Greek island, how true is that? Is Mark there? Okay. Mark, you there? Is Mark gone?
He should be there. No, he's there. Okay. Oh, shit. No, he's not. Hold on.
Call him back. Sorry about that. We lost Mark.
Yeah, we lost him, but he's on the TruePowerIsMine hotline, and we'll get him back.
There's enough information from Mark.
Oh, he's calling the exit, yeah. Hello? Hello? Okay, we'll try back again real quick. Oh, this is messed up. That's why we need more money, folks. We need more money to get better stuff.
They're like, it's all you're going to get is 3 hours of Mark.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
No way. Oh, well. We got to finish that one. Hello. Hold on 1 second.
phone number.
Oh, I got you. I had to.
We got you,
I
man.
had to kill the Facebook feed, and we sacrificed that for the show.
So I'll reread the question.
Oh,
We keep losing them.
no way.
They don't want us to. That's all they're gonna give us is 3 hours with this man.
Man, no, this is not the way it's gonna go down. Not on my watch. Please don't call back right now. Oh,
What we've got here is
hold on. Can you hear us?
What are you doing?
hello.
Yes.
All right, we got you back.
Oh, what's going on here?
Can you hear us?
Yes, we're done.
No, we're here.
He can't hear us for some reason. Okay, hold on.
What are you?
Wait, I just have to do it the old school way. Whoa.
We lost Mark, folks.
Hello? Are you over here?
He's not on there.
Okay. Hold on, guys. I know this is incredibly.
They already know who did that.
Yeah, they already know.
You ain't got to be a rocket scientist to figure that
All
out.
right, I gotta hook this up to. We gotta do
Ain't gotta
some.
be a,
I gotta do some Bluetooth action here, because if not, this ain't gonna link
No.
up. Hold on, folks. Forgive us.
We'll get them back on.
Come on, machine.
Ready to pair.
All right.
Paired.
Cool. All right. Now.
Gotta hurry up. So we was almost through the questionnaire.
Oh, here he is, right here. No, no. Wrong time, homie. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to call Mark from Anaheim back, and all kinds of other people hit me up. All right. What the fuck? What the? You see this shit? Oh, come on. No
That's
way.
gonna be about it. That's just how it goes down.
No.
He's not
Oh,
on
I'm
it.
sorry. Did I say that on the air?
Oh, no. We didn't hear you, whatever you might have said, but I had to call you back on the emergency line here.
They kicked us off.
Yeah, it got all crazy.
What does that mean?
That means that, unfortunately, you must be saying something that somebody doesn't want everyone else to hear.
Well, no, I'm not surprised about that. But I'm just saying, okay, no. All right, so, yeah, I tried to call you back earlier. I think, no, I'm surprised we lasted that long with some of the stuff I said. No, especially when I told you about the North Hollywood shooting, and I told you about the fact that it's always some Soviet bloc guy, and these guys, Nicholas is not a normally spelled with a K.
Right.
There's more going on here than people, and then I told you about the movie Salt with Angelina Jolie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, trust me. Come on, man. Folks knew I was going to be on this show tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm surprised. No, I'm surprised we went as far as we did.
Well, there ain't stopping this train.
No.
There ain't no stopping it.
We got a few bag of tricks.
All right. So anyway, listen. I'm gonna run because I had to cancel this pillow fight between Tandy Newton and Rosario Dawson to do this show, and I got to call those girls back up and see if they'll still come over.
There you go.
I got you, man. We appreciate you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it was 1 hour.
We promised him 1 hour. We kept in a little extra.
That's all good. I didn't mind that.
I make that deal. I already know 1 hour. If you say 1 hour, I just look at it now. You'll tell us when you're done.
Yes.
Well, no, and I'm gonna tell you something. Seriously, I was very serious as a heart attack when I said, I don't know how much longer we're gonna be able to do this, so we got to do this.
Right.
Yeah. We appreciate it, man.
We do. And I know there's thousands upon thousands of others out there who listens to this show who appreciate it as well.
Yeah, okay, thanks a lot. Now, hang up the damn phone because I can't call all my white girlfriends now, okay?
Yeah. Mark from Anaheim, folks.
There you have it. I'm sorry, folks, if we didn't
We
get
will
to
get
all the questions.
questions.
We had about 3 left. I went in the order that they came in. If you ain't been listening by now to Mark, you already know once he starts talking, he doesn't stop.
He doesn't.
So it's hard to get questions in, and you know.
Somebody's called me back saying that they lost a feed.
Look at that previous comments. You know, when Mark comes on, the gif I get from